might be the most I've talked today, so I'm gonna cough up a storm.
Just hit the cough button.
I mean, there is a mute button on here, but and we are live. Unsupported res. I already got that shit.
That sounds confident.
We're on there.
We're on there. We're live.
Yeah.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Greed.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here come the candles to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
Is Colin?
Andrew?
Yep, we're all quick off the jump there. Ready to go.
So I immediately forgot, like, what order do we usually do this?
How do we do this again? Sometimes I forget. So here we are again. We made another week.
Yay, civilization didn't destroy itself yet. Whee!
What'd you say?
I said civilization didn't destroy itself yet.
Not yet. All the precursors are there, but we're not quite out of the game yet. It's been an exciting news week, everyone, and I encourage you to go read the papers and find out about it if you're interested. Because I can't even keep up with it all anymore.
Keep inching closer to either possibly the longest investigation due nothing to a president or the longest investigation.
Oh no, Watergate was what was Watergate was like 4 years or something.
Oh, 4 years was Watergate? Damn.
The Watergate was porous as a screen door. I mean, everyone, they knew all kinds of shit that was going on.
Yeah, I thought of bringing up a funny, well, it's not a funny news segment, but we find news stories where people are really proud of really unimportant things they've accomplished.
Yeah.
And then we like either we sing it ourselves or we play that one Tina Turner song where it's like, we don't need another hero.
It's just like somebody crammed the most wiffle ball bats up their ass. Something you wouldn't necessarily be proud of, but is impressive. Yeah, I was going to do Tiny House Hunters segments. I sent you a text about that.
Yeah. And
I worked them all out in my mind and wrote them out, and I realized I had written jokes about bestiality, pedophilia, incest, and it's like, well, this isn't funny. This is terrible. So I just quit because it was like, yeah, every one of these is like awful.
But like I sent you that. I also sent you back. You were looking for a song that was like a happy song but kind of dark.
Yeah.
And I sent you like Typo Negative's "Summer Breeze."
Yeah.
Well, it's not that; it's their rendition of it. And like I was gonna have a joke for that, where like we come up with Typo Negative covers of like really weird songs, but like it's hard to do. It's hard to replicate that guy's voice with volume and do it in a sing-songy way.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna like.
Summer Breeze is funny.
But like I thought like because like sometimes I just hum that song to myself in the Typo Negative voice because it's just funny, and I thought it was a joke I made up. It's like, oh wait, no, I've heard this song. They actually made it.
Yeah.
But the other one I do, where I just made it up, was there's a Enrique Iglesias song called Baila Mo. It's like it's a Spanish
like a romance.
Yeah.
Baila Mo.
But like I do it in like the Typo Negative version.
Yeah.
Like, Baila Mo, do the rhythm take you over, Baila.
Yeah, I actually have the Typo Negative Summer Breeze song somewhere. That was probably some of their best work.
Yeah,
Like, what kind of music was that? Was it death metal or?
It's kind of death metal. Kind of. Well, I guess.
Like
Yeah, it's
early
just,
early phase.
yeah, I don't know. I guess it wasn't fast enough for death metal because that's kind of a. Well, I guess that's speed metal, but yeah, it was just dark alternative metal. I guess goth metal.
Yeah. Okay.
Canadian goth metal. I think that dude was Canadian.
They have a good sense of humor.
R.I.P. that giant dude from Typo Negative.
Oh, he's dead?
Yeah, he died.
Oh God, what happened?
I don't know. Probably a drug overdose. Whatever happened to the guy from Static, Wayne Static, probably happened to him.
Oh.
So that was the other thing. I'm like, I didn't know Wayne Static died.
Yeah, it's
Static X?
Yeah.
yeah.
What happened?
Combination of drugs.
Oh.
Because he was like well, they're like prescription drugs, but like I guess he took them in an order that caused him to stop breathing or something like that.
He wasn't taking them to abuse them. He just took them in the wrong sequence.
Something like that, because it was like a depression medication and then something else, and then like
It's not the first time Opposite Day has killed someone.
Oh.
Uh,
Just stay away from the elephant tranquilizer, everyone.
I mean, I know the guy from the original lead singer for Drowning Pool, like he died supposedly of his medication, like not being right or whatever, he had like a heart condition or some shit. But I mean, other than that, I can't think of
What was Drowning Pool's hit?
the Bodies to the Floor.
Oh, okay, yeah. Did they have anyone after that?
I don't think so. I bought their second album just to see. I don't really remember any of it, so it can't be that good.
Because I remember Drowning Pool being kind of a joke, but that was like early 2000s, early aughts music was very bad. So,
Yeah.
well, it was like cool at the time, and then you go look back at it now, and it's like, why did I like this?
What was fun about this?
It kind of like I think like Linkin Park is like mixed for me because like when that first came out, it's like what a fucking great album that was, and then kind of Linkin Park over the years kind of became a joke, and then that dude died, and it was like I guess I like Linkin Park.
No, their first couple albums are good. Everything else after that's pretty much a joke. But it's the way I put it is like they went from trying to please fans to try to get into 16-year-old girls' pants. That's pretty much seemingly the direction that band went, because it went from anti-authority, like you can't control me songs, like all the op music was like Papa Roach and everybody else, to like a love ballad or some other deep, sad, emotional song to slow chords this band's never played before, and it's like, what the fuck is this shit?
That reminds me of like I had a certain theory about songs about flying killing bands I really liked.
Yeah.
Because like there's fucking I forget it, Foo Fighters. I really hate Learn to Fly. I really fucking hate that song. Until I played it in Rock Band, and I was like, I guess this song's alright, but I still fucking hate it. It always reminds me of like this is when Foo Fighter went bad. I mean, they're fine now, but you know, whatever. I just didn't care for that album, and I really hated that song. It's like, this is the best song for your fucking album. And then Sugar Ray had that I Just Want to Fly song. Now, that was kind of their biggest song, but I've like heard Sugar Ray stuff before that was a hit. And like they kind of had this weird like kind of rockabilly kind of thing going on, because they did a song called Green Machine. It was kind of a cool song. It was more just like energy and rock, which I really liked. And then then they tried to win over 14-year-old girls. And it's like, fuck this. And then Filters, was it Awake on that airplane song, like Awake on the Airplane?
Yeah,
it was naked on the airplane. It's like that was kind of the end of Filter.
Yeah, I remember having two of their albums, and then after like a couple of years of listening to them, I'm like, why the fuck do I don't like these?
I think they just have two albums, or did they come out with more? Are they still around?
I think they have more. I just had the two.
Because that album is all right, but it's not. I don't know, like, Hey Man, Nice Shot. Like, I don't really think I've listened to the album that song's off of, but like that song's so great.
Yeah. It's weird that it was based on an on-TV suicide.
Yeah.
Which you can actually see. My favorite rock and roll story was just it was the durability of Lane Staley. He's like, the guy went on a 30-year heroin binge because they found him dead. Like, I think he died in like 2003 or something. And it's like this splashy news, like Lane Staley's dead. I'm like, oh, wow, there's a shock. I mean, he literally was on heroin like his entire life.
Who is this?
The lead singer for Alice in Chains.
Oh, yeah.
He just like never. I don't think he always looked like he was always on heroin. And the only reason they knew, because he was so cloistered at the end of his life, the only reason they knew is somebody started, his manager called like a contact number. It's like, no one's withdrawn any money from any of his accounts in 2 weeks. And they're like, okay, he's dead then. Yeah, he had, that was always a testament to the durability of the human body. Is like, that guy's was a heroin addict in the fucking late 80s. Oh.
Well, he could have lived to 120 then. Because you do heroin for that long, you probably had a good genetic code.
Well, it's like Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
I never, he was constantly on, and it's always like just terrible stuff. Like, let's mix heroin and cocaine and then smoke that. Like,
Well,
he finally died. No,
I'm surprised between Jane's Addiction and Stone Temple Pilots, and I can't remember the other band that gave him a try. I think it was like the Resurrection of Queen or something for a while. Did
Oh, did Scott Weiland finally die?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
dead.
I
I
don't
can't
know.
remember how long ago, but it's been at least a couple of years.
Like the dude, I always conflate him and the dude from Alice in Chains. Did they die around the same time?
Oh no, it was like
No,
over
it was
at least
later.
over a decade, if not more.
Okay.
But it's just like, yeah, I figured, he would be dead a long time ago too. But it took him a long time of drug abuse to do that, because all the bands he was ever in kept saying like, "Oh, we'll give him a chance. He's cleaned up his act." And I'm like, he cleaned up his act? like that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I guess everyone always said about him when it came to performing, he was amazing. Like he would put on, no matter how shitty he felt, he would go out on stage and put on an amazing performance. But to work with him and collaborate and make music, it's like, yeah, when you're dealing with a guy who's like, you just spent 30 minutes talking about something you want to do, and you look over there and he's nodding out. He's just so whacked out on drugs. You do that for a few months, you're like, oh, fuck this guy. I don't care if this is the Jesus Christ of rock music. I'm not dealing with this.
On Tipta, I heard Smashing Pumpkins have a new album, and it's all right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and okay, another new album. I knew they had one like 5 years ago that I really liked. It was pretty good. I didn't know they came out with another one.
I haven't
Is
checked
there
it
one
out yet.
Still with him?
What's that?
Is the Billy Corgan still?
Yeah,
with him?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
And he still hates his fans. Like, don't worry.
I just couldn't believe how sucked into conspiracy theories he was.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, he's an artist, so that's always in the background.
That's true.
I mean, like he almost owned a wrestling promotion, or maybe he does. And so, if he didn't get to do that, it had to be conspiracy theories.
See, what's the last music album? The Clutch. Clutch came out with an album, like in October, I think.
Oh, new one. Okay.
Yeah, I bought that one. It's got an American Eagle on the front. It's called The Book of Bad Decisions. I mean, but Clutch does so much good music. And I remember when I first heard them, like in the 90s, it's like, oh, I don't like this at all. Like the whole Transcendental Freeway days and stuff. It's like, it was almost goofy. It's like they had what are they sing songs about hillbilly shoguns, and it was just like weird eclectic shit. It almost seemed like Primus, but with more of a blues metal vibe to it. After that, they became kind of what they are today, which is actually pretty cool. And they show up in a lot of things, but you don't hear about about them a lot. They tour a lot around here. You'll see them in Flint and Kalamazoo. And
Are they from there, or are they just tour
no.
the Midwest a bunch?
They're from Germantown, Pennsylvania. I think,
Okay.
No, Maryland. Somewhere in Maryland. Yeah. But yeah.
No, it's good that they actually stop in the Midwest, because most people just stop in Minneapolis, Chicago, and call it good.
Well, yeah, the bigger acts. That's why I'll never see a Nine Inch Nails show. They were in like Detroit, Chicago, and Minneapolis. It's like, oh great, a 6 to 8 hour drive to go see Nine Inch Nails. Never mind. Oh, and how much for the tickets?
Chicago's not too bad. It's like
no, it's 3
4.5.
hours.
Yeah, it's not. Depending on traffic and shit, but yeah, Chicago's Chicago. No, like if Nine Inch Nails ever came to like Des Moines, I probably wouldn't want to go either because Red Hot Chili Peppers came to Des Moines. And I think it was you could sit up in the very back corner of the stadium, and it was still $250 a person. And it's like holy fucking shit.
Yeah, I think the Nine Inch Nails tickets were probably absurd, but that was this year they did the thing where you actually had to physically show up to the venue for like to pre-order.
Yeah.
But it was like I would have to like travel to Nathan's or I was like, can you give me a ticket, Nathan, and I'll show up and go to the show? And he's like,
Probably not, because you have to go to Detroit.
Well, yeah. I think you would have to like stand on a Saturday for like 6 hours, and I don't know how the line went, but yeah.
Oh, all that metal shit. I'm not. The problem with the venues in Detroit is the actual venues are cool, but it's parking and getting in and getting out that can get super sketchy.
Yeah.
Especially if the concert goes on till like midnight or 1 a.m. and then you're out in Detroit. It's like, uh-oh. And you got to, I'm trying to think of the last thing. We did a Lions game there once or something. Like coming in and going to the game was cool. Getting out was, because they close shit off so you can exit, because everything exits off. Oh, it's either the Fisher Freeway. Well, it's the Fisher Freeway and the Lodge Freeway, but they'll like close exits so you can only exit in one or two areas. And yeah, you can get turned around real quick, and you end up in like you just see trash barrels on fire and people standing around. It's like, where the fuck am I? When did this become Escape from New York? Yeah, it's not. I don't consider it very well managed. Downtown area is nice. It's just getting in and getting out is terrible.
Well, wrestling came through here, but I didn't go to any of those shows.
Oh,
but
wrestling did come through?
Yeah, they had a WWE live show here a couple of weeks ago in Cedar Rapids, and then I think might be this week. There's an NXT show in Des Moines.
Huh.
None of them are televised. They're what they're called house shows, where they just show up and it's none of the stories canon. They just kind of like go out and have fun and stuff.
Well, I'm sure the ticket prices.
Practice.
Yeah.
Sure, ticket prices are the same.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I wouldn't go there just on the hope that it's going to be filmed and on TV or anything. So.
No, but that's just one of the things you have to like keep in mind, because it's just going to be a different kind of vibe, especially when it's not like playing for TV.
I would love to see a man sit behind a desk with shorts on, with a suit jacket again, but at the same time, like I always worry every time I come over here I'm going to break your webcam, but thankfully I don't. So I mean, I know it's not as expensive as the $2 million camera or whatever, but
The NXT's been like really good recently. WWE's been terrible. Well, it has its moment. It's just not worth your time. I mean, I've been doing the math, because
what kind of math is that?
So you have SmackDown and Raw each week.
Yeah.
So between those two shows, it's 5 hours of entertainment.
Yeah.
Every week, so we'll say 4 weeks a month, so that's 20 hours of entertainment. You have a pay-per-view every month that can be anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, so we'll say 22 hours of entertainment each month from WWE, and almost none of it's worth your time. NXT has 1 hour show each week, so that's 4 hours. They do a takeover not every month, so it's either 4 hours to 6 to 7 hours, depending on the month, and it's usually all worth your time.
Well, because what's the subscription cost for the month?
It's $9.99.
Oh, it's not bad.
Yeah. But also, like, the thing with, like, the stuff that's on TV, you can't watch it on the network, or it only shows up on there, like, a week later. But it's like, there's no reason to ever watch that stuff. So
well, I mean, if you're one of the diehard people that would buy that anyway, you're going to watch enough content, you're not probably going to notice the week lag.
yeah.
Between everybody having Netflix, Hulu, Prime, And now WWE, HBO, and all this other stuff. It's too much crap to watch anyway.
Well, what I do is that there's a YouTube channel called WhatCulture.com, and it's a bunch of British dudes and they do a segment called Ups and Downs, where like they watch the show and they rate each segment ups or down, and it's like, and like, one of the things he says, like, I watch wrestling, so you don't have to. It's like, thank you, I'm not fucking watching this shit. And if there is a good highlight, I'll go watch it. Now, one interesting thing is that there's Becky Lynch. She's a wrestler, and she has this. She's kind of having a Stone Cold Steve Austin kind of moment, where she turned heel, but then everybody loves that she's turned heel. So that no, they want her to draw hate. They eventually want the crowd to boo her, but then no, the crowd just cheers her, and then whoever she's facing, like they want whoever she's facing to cheer them. But then they boo whoever she's facing. So now she kind of has this, Stone Cold Steve Austin thing where it's like the anti-hero, where like it's the person doing bad things, but everybody loves them no matter what.
And then she would kick the WWE and then be not popular anymore and lose her career.
But there's this part where like she invaded the other, because she's on SmackDown, she invaded Raw with like the other SmackDown people, and she literally got punched in the face, had her nose broken, and was bleeding. And she just played it off like she was a badass, and she looked like a badass. But then, because that punch, she got a concussion and a nose breakage. She couldn't go to the next pay-per-view show because of the concussion she suffered from the punch.
Wow.
And, that was an accident too. She didn't meant to get literally punched in the face.
Mm.
But yeah, the great thing right now in NXT, there's a guy named Tommaso Ciampa. He's the current championship, and he's just a great heel. Everything he's doing right now is just fucking great. Because you want to love it. It's just really fun to hate him, and like everything he does is just funny. Because like I was telling Andrew, because we watched the last pay-per-view, and I only showed him this one match where it's the war games, where it's like it's two rings strapped together and then all inside of a cage. And it's a weird match. It takes like half an hour to watch it. But it's
what's the point of the rings?
I think it's an old WCW kind of standover, and because they own all that stuff now, it's like they're kind of paying homage to that. I don't think there was a point to it. I think they just wanted it was spectacle. It's like they want to do something different with just than standard wrestling, so somebody just had the idea. It's like, let's put two rings together and put it all inside of a cage. But there's also a weird this specific match had a weird stipulation where it was like so the one I saw before was 3 teams, but this one was just 2 teams.
Oh, that is weird.
But
look at the picture of it.
There are 2 teams. So this one, it was 2 teams, and each team has 3 people. So the match starts with 2 guys in the ring, and they just beat the shit out of each other. But actually, technically, the match doesn't start. And so, like, every 5 minutes, one person from the team is let out of the cage, and they come in there. And the match technically doesn't start until all the members of each team are in the cage. So the idea is like if you beat the shit out of your opponent before the match starts, then like maybe you can get a quick win. So, but I don't know, it's.
Oh, okay.
Now they lay on the ground for 20 minutes for Cooper.
Yeah. Andrew was like that when I pointed out, like, when somebody takes it, like in especially a tag match, like, it's you can have a thing where a guy just like gets knocked out, and it's like, oh, he's just taking a breather, but he's looked like, like, oh, I got hit so hard, I got laid unconscious, but no, he's just breathing, just taking a rest.
Well, I mean, if we could afford and throw that kind of money away at ringside seats, it'd be interesting to see how they play that. Since you're forced to kind of watch the big screen further back, so you're forced to watch their perspective, how they want it to be seen.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I would like to see how they play off, like, finally being good enough to get up and go join the fight 15 minutes after they got knocked on their ass. It's that, and always the quick, like, I was getting the shit beat out of me for like 5 minutes, and all of a sudden I'm Hercules.
A burst of energy. It's pure guts, or it's just pure will. It has nothing to do with. Or the moves where it's like, how is that a tactical advantage to do that? I always like the ones where they like do a move off the top, where like they'll have the guy in the corner, and like the guy will do like a body slam off the top rope with the other guy, and then they both act like they're hurt, and it's like, how did that work out in your favor? Because they'll both act hurt for like 6 minutes, like grabbing their backs, like, ah. I don't think he got all of it, Richard. But no, there was a match between Tommaso Ciampa and Velveteen Dream, where the end of it is, he like, Tommaso Ciampa was like kind of like losing, and they, does like a DDT to the guy, like on some metal part of in the middle part of the two, because like in this match they're just using one ring.
Yeah.
But they don't have a separate ring set off to the side for the single matches. It's like, no, just, you just do the one ring. But he did a DDT into the metal part or whatever. And it's like, oh, he knocked him unconscious. So and then Tommaso Ciampa went for the cover. And then he wins. And, like, he's still, like, collapsed together with Velveteen Dream, who's just acting like he's passed out the whole time. And then the camera's, like, kind of floating above Tommaso Ciampa. And he's just screaming, me! Me! I'm the greatest! And then the ref hands him his tag team or the championship belt, and he just keeps screaming, me! Me! It's like, this is great. It's so fucking stupid.
What I love the most.
Anyways, yeah, it's wrestling talk.
Yeah. Always good.
NXT is worth your time. WWE is terrible. It's fucking just bizarre because like it means WWE is producing like their closest competition is something that they produce. It's like, oh, who should we what should we do to make a better product? Is like, well, you already make a better product.
Yeah.
Should we take any pointers from that? No.
Yeah, some of your production company. So what's going on with what was the WWE? Was the storyline not there? What do you think
they have too much time on their hands. Their creative department's kind of shit. Their creative department has complete control over the wrestlers to the point that everything they say is scripted.
Oh,
like literally, here's a script, you better read it.
Oh.
So in NXT, it's a little more off the cuff. The wrestlers have more input. Also there's a whole, like I'm telling you, like it's NXT's kind of has like this minor league kind of feel towards like, hey, they're getting better. Like they're trying. Like, so when stuff doesn't work out, you don't hold that against them. It's like, well, they're learning.
Yeah.
But right now NXT is just like full of. They basically bought up all the indie talent, and so it's like all these guys that have like 15 years of experience, and like now they're finally getting their big shot, but they have to go through NXT first. And so it's like it's just a professional show, but it kind of still has an amateur feel to it.
Huh.
And because they don't do a pay-per-view every month, when they do one, it's like a lot of effort and planning, kind of like that all kind of like works in their favor, where they're not just like throwing things away, like everything. Like I've never seen a bad takeover. Like I just haven't. But I've seen plenty of bad WWE pay-per-views. But yeah, it's just, and but also Vince McMahon, he controls the WWE stuff pretty much with Iron Fist, and he's just an old man who's
stuck in his racist ways.
Yeah, and the things he thinks is funny is because like they had the Survivor Series recently, which that's one of their big pay-per-views, the one they throw a lot more money at. So it's like you have WrestleMania, which is their big one. You have the Royal Rumble. You have SummerSlam and Survivor Series, and that's kind of considered like the big four pay-per-views. And it was going all right, and then they had this part where there's a tag team match, and sort of the accompanying guys to the tag teams. So one of them was the Big Show. He was accompanying the Bar. And then you had I can't remember his name. He's the manager of 205 Live, which is another show they produce. Which probably has the best wrestling, but that's kind of it. So they don't really have like storyline stuff isn't that great, but it's like the best wrestling because it's all the smaller guys doing flying shit and stuff like that.
Okay. Most acrobatic, at least.
Yeah. So like well, like when we had seats like we had at the NXT Takeover, like that'd be fun because then you would actually get to see the wrestlers for like 5 seconds. Oh, he jumped off the top of the ring. I can see that. And so they had the one guy was interfering the small guy. He's like a little small British guy.
Okay.
And so the Big Show goes to choke him, and then he choked him so hard that the small British guy pissed his pants. And that was supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is embarrassing.
As long as the commentator is like, he spilled the tea.
I guess I don't know. One of the What Culture guys speculated that they did that on the fly to draw attention away from somebody, because one of their former wrestlers who got he got accused of sexual assault. And then he was, I think he was eventually found not guilty of it, or didn't even go to court. But because he didn't disclose it to WWE, they fired him for not disclosing it, even though nothing came about of it.
Oh, okay.
So he showed up there wearing a shirt says "I'm doing fine," and he stands up and he starts like yelling towards the cameras to and then the security goes and tackles him. So they said that might have been called on the fly to draw attention away from that.
Quick, go to bodily fluids draining from somebody.
Exactly.
Cut to bodily fluids.
Just wonder if they have like an earpiece in the ear, or Vince McMahon tells them, piss yourself. Like, just wet yourself.
But yeah, like a lot of it's like, I think it's just anytime they attempt to do humor in WWE, it's always terrible. And I always assumed like this is Vince McMahon is just loving this.
Well, so why is Vince McMahon a racist? What's that about? I've heard that before.
Well, just all the old like everybody that's like African American is always like some type of, even NXT was that, where it's like the voodoo priestess, and then Velveteen Dream is still kind of like the crazy depiction of like Prince, and I don't even know what other kind of. I mean,
I thought there was like audio of him saying awful
no,
stuff.
I just mean racist.
Oh
characters.
yeah. Well, like it's like I was telling you before, like the way like Vince McMahon like thinks like everybody should have like their hero, but like it has to go through the Vince McMahon filter first. It's like your new character is it's a black guy. It's like he just really loves chicken and watermelon. Like who doesn't love chicken and watermelon? That's your new character. It's like Vince.
Yeah, because like all the Mexican people are like luchadors, and then all the black people are of some kind of tribal or like some
or hip hop gimmick. But.
Yeah, something like that. And then anybody else, as long as if you're a certain type of white, you can be a Viking or some kind of Nordic or Slavic person. But the other kind of white people are all kind of like white trash, like douchebags or biker gang people.
Yeah, there's
there's no other in between. There's no black guy that's part of a biker gang. There's no white guy that wants to be a rapper. That
was actually John Cena.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was basically his original character. Well, not his original character, but how it settled originally. He was kind of like what if Eminem was a wrestler?
Oh.
That's like what was John Cena. He was the what the fuck did they call him? He was the master of. I'm not sure if it was master, but yeah, it was like. Yeah, he was the master of thugonomics. Like that was. He came out with like he had a chain on his neck. He'd wrap it up and punch people. Like he used to cheat and steal, and like he was rapping all the time. Jeff from Giant Bomb always maintains that the album he made was like actually a pretty good rap album. Yeah, but that used to be John Cena before he became like Superman. But
I want to see like a gold necklace of like fist plus. Like foot equals ass kick or something like that. Just this like thugonomics or some shit like. Fucking...
Well, yeah, he said, "Dude, this thing," which I can't remember what the fuck that meant. Now he does some hand signal, but it's like hustle, loyalty, and respect. Like that's his thing.
Well, that's kind of irritating. I guess like that was their one of few forays into making people not racial stereotyped. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of the characters still look good. Like Velveteen Dream looks good. So does Ricochet, and so does like the War Band and stuff like that. Like the two.
The War Raiders.
Yeah, the War Raiders. Like I like them, but it's like otherwise, like it's like okay, you could not have that person have dreadlocks. and dressed with a ghetto chain and shit. Like,
Well, that's well, they will change. Sometimes they will change in NXT where it's like they go out with a gimmick because like, nah, that's not working, and they'll change it. But like, I don't think we've seen like people go through a change necessarily. A lot of the ones yet, but yeah, they do have just a fucking biker gang, a white biker gang, of like one dude's an ex-Marine and stuff like that, and they're called this. Oh wait, fuck, I want to say Sons of Liberty, but it's something Sons of, or it's basically what was the show Sons of Anarchy? Yeah, it's just a ripoff. Like they're just what if Sons of Anarchy were wrestlers?
Sons of Disorder.
I want to see the character where it's just like suburban dad that like loses his shit and like starts beating the crap out of somebody, like a
Dressed
death.
like Michael Douglas. And
Yeah, just like a Death Wish type character. Like you hit my wife and raped my daughter, and now I'm gonna kick your ass. Or whatever.
That's what they need to do is go with darkly powerful backstory. It's like a chain of murder and chaos, and these two guys are gonna settle it with wrestling.
Well, no, because like there's this South Park episode where they all start a wrestling league as all the kids,
Yeah.
or whatever. And like Cartman plays like this one character just like sleeps with everybody, and just like has 1 million abortions and shit. It's like generally like all their characters are actually kind of interesting. I'd actually watch that and be entertained. Like I think they're onto something. You should really have like hugely like elaborate, revolting, and just like horrific backstories for all these wrestlers.
I mean, they used to do stuff like that. Now it's more played as like almost UFC if it were a drama. Like that's kind of how they play it now. And like everybody's usually kind of playing it like their character is close to who they are personally, and there's no more kayfabe is what they call it, where you had to like stay in character constantly. That used to be a thing, but now kayfabe is dead. But yeah, they had shit like there was like one guy where there was a character named Big Boss Man who was just he was just like a security guard at a prison in like South Carolina. That was his original character, and then he became more of he had all tactical gear now, and he became kind of evil. And there was a guy named Al Snow, and he like killed his dog and fed it to him. He something where like he stole, like Big Show's father died, and he stole his dad's stole his dad like while he was in a coffin. He attached the coffin to the back of a car with a chain and was like pulling it out of the graveyard while Big Show was like holding onto the casket and driving away. It's like, this is fucking stupid. And I believe Mae Young at some point gave birth to a hand after like Kane had sex with her or something like that.
Oh, so it does get weird.
Yeah, they don't do that stuff anymore.
No.
I don't know. It's like one of the coolest, the biggest things they ever like fucking. There's a dude. His name is Bray Wyatt, and he was kind of the last of the supernatural wrestlers. It's like him and the Undertaker, and Kane. I guess it still comes around when he's not being the lawyer of Knoxville, Tennessee. And like he had like the coolest entrance where it was like this weird, it's like this kind of slow, twangy rock song, like from and like everybody in the crowd would turn on their lights on their phone, and like they turn out all the lights, and basically the stadium would be lit by the lights of all the audience holding their phones up. And he comes out with a lantern, and he has these two crew, and they like wear lamb's mask and shit like that. And like he always had this like, and he was doing like the was it Yellow King? Was that from the True Detective? Like he was doing shit like that like 2 years before they did that.
Oh, okay.
And like he was like feuding with John Cena, and it's like the world's evil, John. Like you just don't know it yet. It's like we're all evil. It's like it was fucking great, but then they constantly had him lose. So like every time he hit a feud with somebody, it's like who gives a shit? They're just gonna make him lose.
Yeah.
Like evil doesn't win. Like
show me a world consumed by evil.
Okay, next stop, Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
Is there any timeline yet on getting the water fixed finally? Or are they even talking about that still?
Just people on the left are. It came up again during our governor's race. But yeah, I don't really follow it that much. I mean, it's just one of those dead cities. It's just hollowed out. There's nothing there. They might be closing the few remaining plants there too. So nothing there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's gonna become like that. Oh fuck, what's the name of it?
Oh.
The city that Silent Hill's based on.
Oh, what's that place called? I was talking about that a while back.
You ever read about that? The city that Silent Hill's based on.
No.
It's like this city. There's like a mine. I can't remember what kind of
Coal
mine.
fire or whatever beneath the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, coal seam fire. Yeah.
It's just like, and it's still burning, and like basically made the town so toxic they just abandoned the entire town.
Well, I
Yeah.
know there's, I mean, still modern history abandoned towns between, damming up rivers and stuff like that, and then the coal fire seam. Know there's like a couple like near like the salt flats and stuff where there used to be like resort towns and stuff that have long been abandoned because nobody goes out there anymore. And shit is like, not saying like Flint should be saved, it truly is dying, but at the same time, at least for the people that live there, should have some type of drinking water or bathing water. Should just be like going on, like how many years has it been since that story broke? Like definitely before the presidential election, so like
4 years.
4 years now, 4 years of not being able to bathe, drink, or use that water.
Yeah,
for
there's
anything.
some website that has a counter of like time since drinkable water.
I mean, it's like I get it, it's broken, but like I guess I don't know the perspective of somebody that lives in that state. I know it's not the same area of the state, but it's like living in Iowa, not even that far away from it. Like nobody brought it up till the midterms again. Like that's the last time I'd ever heard about it.
Yeah, well, it was just one of those things that was done. It was because that thing that they passed to control the zombie cities here, because they have like 9 of them, or they had 9 of them. It's is that Office of Public Management Act or whatever. I mean, it was something put into place because essentially the city was dead. Like there was no tax revenue. They couldn't run police, fire, and all that stuff, and they had to. So the first thing to do is bail out on all the pensions of the people that worked for the city. That's wonderful. And then they just implement these ruthless cost savings. And one of the things they did was, when they cut the water from the Detroit River and went with the Flint River. Well, they had all these this massive lead infrastructure of pipes, and all of a sudden you would introduce this acidic water, but then you look into the cost of replacing those pipes, and it just gets into the billions and billions of dollars. And and then it becomes this thing. It's like, well, there's no viable tax base here. We're going to just run these pipes into houses that'll probably stand empty in 5 years anyway. It gets to this real weird calculus where, because everyone's leaving the city anyway. People were leaving the city before, and now they're just leaving. I mean, Genesee County is one of the most depressed areas in Michigan you can go to. It's like they bus people in. Well, you remember the Michael Moore documentary? I forget which one it was, but they were talking about how they bring the busloads of people from Flint to make malts for, the shopping centers around the Detroit metro area and stuff, because they have a hard time finding people willing to work for minimum wage in this part of the state. So they would bus the people in from Flint because there's just nothing in Flint. And weirdly enough, like the downtown area there looks beautiful. I've been to Flint many times, and it's like the downtown area, like where the city government is and all that, they have all these bridges and stuff. It looks really cool, but yeah, you go out into the main part of the city and it's just empty house, one house with the lights on, empty house, and it's a very strange. I mean, there's a lot of cities like that here. Pontiac's like that. Detroit used to be the worst example of that.
I've heard Detroit's turning around ish.
It is. I mean,
Well, I heard the hipsters came in and kind of made it cool.
Yeah, the thing.
With some things.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we can spend $50 and just have an entire, like, old manufacturing thing to ourselves. Like, let's build a skate park inside this old car plant.
Yeah, there's that, and I forget. Well, I mean, Ford's doing the biggest project there, which is that the Central Michigan train station rehab. which is going to become their world headquarters for automated vehicle research and development. But yeah, they spent $1 billion just buying the building and then bringing it up to some kind of code, because they found out that buildings built in that Gothic ancient style, if you want to put offices and stuff in them and run all the data lines you need now, you basically have to rebuild the building because they don't have an accommodation for that. Especially if you're going to do a lot of CAD 3D design, you have to run all that stuff in there. It's like, oh yeah, we could like use one of the elevator shafts maybe. Put in external elevators to get people up and down, but
yeah, I remember like a few years ago, it was like people were trying to turn Detroit into like Portland too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it was cheap to live there. I mean, all you had to do was just buy a house and bring it up to code. But see, weird thing about Detroit though, there's a lot of like extra taxes there that people don't know about. There's the city tax, which is a city income tax. There's only only city in the country that still has that. It's like you pay an extra income tax out of your paycheck directly if you have a zip code in Detroit. And then there's the city sales tax, there's the city super secret tax, and the triple dipple tax, and it's like, whoa, okay, wait a minute, this is really fucking crazy. But you know, when I moved here 20 years ago, there was like 1.8 million people living there. Now maybe 500,000 people live there. Like, it's really, really, really gone down.
So what you're saying is I don't even need to buy a house. I just need to plant my flag on something and claim it as my own.
It's just got to be careful now because the cleanup laws will kill you.
Oh.
Because a lot of people wanted to go through there and buy just blocks and try to gentrify the homes and stuff, and they found out the homes like had all the utilities stripped out of them. Everyone went after the copper pipe, the wire, and the bricks in those houses are worth a fortune because some of those bricks were made like turn of the century shit, last century. And there's companies that come through there and just clear the bricks out to build new structures other places because it's really old school looking cool bricks that aren't made that way anymore. But yeah, the problem is if you buy those properties, you're liable for everything that goes on there, including environmental cleanup, which that EC shit is, again, that's just a tax that they use to fuck people. So it's they make it hard here. And I don't know if the incoming regime is going to make it better or worse than the outgoing one for people. But
just gotta hope for that robot revolution.
I don't know, or the EMP.
There's multiple video games that have like the like robotics really takes off in Detroit.
There's enough of it here. There's a lot of robots here.
Because that's Deus Ex. Was it Become Human? Was that the first 360 one? Or something like that.
I thought it was Ex Machina was 360. Or is that the... I don't know if it's the first one, though.
Well, the first one's just Deus Ex, but like there's the new ones with you know, the dude had like he had, you know, robot arms, and he had like the eyeglasses that like retracted into his head or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They made two of them, but I can't remember. But yeah, one of them was like Become Human or something like that, and those take place in Detroit because that's where like robotics got really big, and it was like all these veterans of the war come home and like, here's your new, you know, appendages and stuff like that.
Well, I think even the new survival game or not survival game, adventure game for like the guys that did a Heavy Rain, like the Almost Human, or
yeah, Detroit Become Human.
Yeah, Detroit's centerpiece for that one too.
Yep.
It's like Detroit's between RoboCop and everything else. Like, Jesus, Detroit's got a lot of hopes and dreams pinned on it in pop culture.
Well, it's, you know, a big manufacturing center, so you think it's like if robots become the new thing, it's just like, oh, they make cars there, can't they just make robots?
Yeah, they I just watched they excised 50 robots the other day when I was at work. I'd never seen that done. Because usually they'll use those industrial robots forever.
Yeah.
And they just red X'd like 50 of them. They were just loading them into dumpsters. They're just going to the scrapyard.
And then just sell that shit to China.
No, they don't want it anymore. They just go because they're they were like 30 years old. They're pretty old, and they just couldn't find parts for them anymore. Because usually robots, they'll put them in a warehouse and like, well, the next time we start a line, we'll just repaint this, replace the bearings, and put it out there. I mean, they had robots with control boards in there as big as the room you're sitting in. They didn't get that old at one time. They don't have that anymore. But yeah, they used to keep those things forever. Now they're just excising them like it's cheaper to buy new ones.
The Apple model.
Yeah. Well, these are all, who makes these? Fanuc. They're from Germany.
Okay.
All made in Germany. Well, when Ford built the Rouge back up to build the F-150 and to do the aluminum stamping in the aluminum F-150, they set the global price for manufacturing robots for 3 years because they bought so many. Well, they bought like 10,000 manufacturing robots, and they had the because they all buy them from Fanuc, and they like set the market. It's like, well, everyone wants to pay what Ford's paying because they made the biggest wholesale robots of order of manufacturing robots in history, and
isn't Fennec's logo with like FE and then N with like a triangle going in down into the end?
they do have that, but now it's like the futuristic letters where it's all one squiggle.
Oh, okay. We have some Fennec stuff at our place, but I was like, I wonder if it's the same thing because I've seen it occasionally.
It is.
Alright.
There's Fennec and Kuka and what are the other German ones? So I told you like the difference in engineering teams you meet. Because like at the Focus plant, it was all Americans and Asian guys and Indian guys. That was the Focus engineering development team. You go to the F-150 plant, it's all uptight German dudes. That's your core engineering team for the F-150. It's all guys that look like they haven't taken a shit in a week. They're all just around grimly. It's like, the Germans are here. German product development team.
So is there any, because I know recently with GM announcing their plant closures, or supposed plant closures in some cases, and their massive layoffs and stuff like that. I mean, I know Ford's supposedly in the same straits of, declining car market, and they're not situated appropriately to capitalize on SUVs and trucks being the most popular, but also now ride sharing and automated cars and also their crap going on. Is Ford looking at closing things or anything like that you know?
No, they're not yet. Oh, I don't know for sure. When we get back from Christmas, that's when all the good news is going to come out. Speculation I've heard is 25,000 people will be let go. That will mostly happen in Europe, South America, and China. So I don't know about North America. I'm sure there's some treat coming for us. Well, see, the thing is, Ford does not make cars in North America anymore. They make the Mustang.
Yeah.
And they have the Lincoln car, but that's going to be discontinued, I believe, and they're getting a new SUV at that plant. So Ford's not planning, as far as I know yet, a big North American displacement of people. But they got out of making cars in North America 3 years ago, except for a few. The Mustang always holds a ceremonial place. I mean, they're cool cars, but they're 3-season cars and they're expensive. So, if you live in California or Florida, I guess the Mustang's an option, but you couldn't have one here year round, unless you're really brave. Really want to take that thing out in the ice and snow.
I got a short drive to work.
Spin in a circle. But yeah, that's I don't know what the color and the shape of it is. I think that, they're just divesting most of their operations. I mean, you can't make money in Europe, and they finally just accepted the truth of that. You could whittle out a little bit of a profit in the UK because they do sell a lot of cars there, but yeah, continental Europe and all that, they're just not making money anymore.
Well, yeah, 'cause there's a news story on, I think it was Vox or the Atlantic this week that I watched that was talking about the car market for Ford in foreign countries, and it seemed like China was really regressing, Latin America and Europe was really slow and didn't really exist as a market anymore, and then America was still strong, but it was just more or less the truck and SUV market.
Yeah, that's all people want, and that's what's most profitable to make and sell. And that's what you have to respond to. You don't want to be caught flat-footed like we were in 2008, where you know, the markets drop, everything goes crazy, and you're stuck with, you know, 30, 50-day supplies of cars on dealer lots. It's like you're fucking fucked, and you're going to be wholesaling that shit for pennies on the dollar just to move it, and then you go bankrupt. So, yeah, they don't want to be caught without a winning product. And cars have been regulated and ruined by our government and by governments around the world. So they're going to get out of it. The regulations on building a car is a stack of shit this high. The regulation on trucks and SUVs is about that high. That's part of the problem. The other part is it's just that's what people want. People like to get up, not get down. So that's what they want.
911's coming to your town.
Yeah. Yeah, people and the fuel economy and stuff on the small and mid-sized SUVs is virtually the same as cars now. So now the big full-frame trucks, the mileage isn't good, but again, they've made a pickup truck into an aspirational vehicle where it used to be like a sports car. So tastes change, and in 20 years, who knows what the taste will be. But
I'm gonna guess 2-door hatchbacks.
I don't
know.
know.
Let's splurge 5-door hatchback.
I mean, they say they're gonna. There's all these European countries that are saying they're gonna ban IC motors by 2025, 2030. I mean, they're making these proclamations until their economies just start to be just chewed to death by that, and then it'll go away. But
also, they have towns that are fucking thousands of years old, and there's no way you can drive a car in them, and just everyone rides a bike and
yeah,
trains and shit.
Terrible place to live, but yeah, that's what you got. So I don't know. I'm not optimistic. I mean, I've been following my 401k and my stock dividend thing, and it's like I might as well just use it as toilet paper.
Yeah, I guess. I'm sorry. I saw how low the price share was on Ford, and I was like, really? It's that low?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's getting down into a recession range again. I think I was buying it for $3 a share at the bottom, and now we're at half. But that's because the new attitude of Wall Street is they just want to punish people. It's like if you're not making maximum profit, you're a piece of shit. They're just going to run you out of business. I mean, it's what Wall Street is.
I know, but at the same time, I've just about anybody that's ever paid attention, because we had to take economics in high school and I took economics classes in college. It's like economics is, you don't just turn profits every fucking year. You know when you do that? When you do something really wrong to turn those profits, or you cook your books to turn profits every year. Like, economy goes up and down. It never stays stable. There's no actual scientific determining factor what makes an economy run.
But look at what have become the darlings of Wall Street. It's not like U.S. Steel or people that actually make something. It's this pure company, bit like Google.
Yeah.
What's it worth? What's it, one fucking EMP and it's not worth anything? It's a fucking empty. It's an empty house. Facebook. I mean, Apple at least makes stuff. Like they have physical buildings in China that make stuff, and but yeah, it's a lot of this. The stuff on Wall Street, they want that massive fucking Google return. It's like, yeah, because you're touching everyone. You have very few employees.
And you're touching your employees.
And you're touching them sometimes. And then we're gonna, with all this immigration talk and stuff, they're trying to shuttle a bill through Congress now where they're going to allow 500,000 people to come here on those special visas to work, and it's all IT people and stuff from India. It's like they need them. It's like, oh, we're going to rush this bill through to keep Facebook's labor costs low. This is insane shit they're doing. But that's, again, we're just going to have to wait for this to hit the bottom, start rebuilding again, see which direction it goes. I don't think it's going up. Could be wrong, but been through this a few times.
Oh, yeah, we're just got to wait till they get internet to everybody, and then it'll rise again.
Yeah,
because that's their long shot right now. I forget, it might have been Amazon, maybe it was Facebook, but they have these plans to have these drones that just fly around the world and give free Wi-Fi to everybody.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this. Wasn't Gates floating this idea about 10 years ago?
Oh, probably. Well, it's like what they, because like the way those companies grow is not necessarily by profits, it's by users.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't necessarily, like, you need to keep growing your user base, and because the user base for these things are fucking absurd, it's like billions of people.
Yeah.
Like I think Facebook has like, it's like almost as used, like almost as many people use it as like internet browsers. Like, you know, Internet Explorer and Facebook like have the same amount of user base, which is like 500 million people or whatever. And that's a lot of data to collect and, you know, do what you want with. Because that's what, you know, that's the because now you have this data, you hire psychologists, and you figure out how you can make people buy things that they never knew they wanted because you have data on them. We know how to exploit your weaknesses. You have a gambling problem? Here's a new gambling website for you.
Yeah. My favorite, the most insidious one, was they would create app-type games for your phone. And if you want to unlock the next level, it's like 99 cents. And then if you follow this arc, it's a company's worth like $11 billion by the end of the year.
Oh, yeah.
99 cents at a time. It's like, that's insane. It's genius. But it's like, I never thought that would lead to that.
Oh, yeah, there's a ton of like those phone games where it's like free phone games. And they're always like Game of War, War of Fire. It's just like, just whatever thing.
Yeah, well, it's like variations on Game of Thrones, not even that original, but find out these people are worth more than like Fox Entertainment, you know, by the end of the year.
Yeah, it's fucking insane.
Yeah, because some reason people are really addicted to free to play. Like, hey, look, you can build up your army or your city, and just you can wait for it, or you can pay for things to speed things up for you. And I think I've maybe once paid for something, but usually I think it was like 99 cents, and that was like a long time ago. But usually I'm just like patient, and like I've seen people watch me like play it over my shoulder, like, why didn't you pay for that upgrade? I'm like, well, because that's $5. You want to pay $5 for this imaginary building be built right away? Because I don't. Like,
Yeah.
It's genius, yes, because you're paying $5 for gratification. That's all. That's all you're paying for. I'd rather pay $60 for gratification.
Speaking of video games, how's your opinion turned on Red Dead Redemption 2 so far? Are you okay with it now?
No, I'm okay with it. I'm just bored with it.
Oh, okay, already.
It's just like, oh, okay. I mean, I like the change in locales. I like, you know, doing like bounty hunting and just regular hunting and stuff like that. But like between stories, it's like it's not deep enough still. It's like, yeah, you can go like craft stuff if you want. You can go kind of wander around and explore, but there's no like I know it's like almost stupidly impossible to ask for like everything you put on the map to be explorable in a way, like houses to be, you can enter them and kind of interact and find stuff, but it's like I was kind of let down by like the New Orleans town because it's like it's so big, but like there's nothing to do there. There's like the most shops ever and like the most people to run into and stuff, but it's, you can't enter houses, you can't like rob people, you can't like set up.
Well, you can, but
Well, yeah, like on the streets though, not like inside houses. But it's like it's some of the mechanics, like where I've just been getting pissed off at people, like the whole, I think it's like the cheapest bounty you can have on you. It's like $5, like disturbing the peace basically or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I've said, like the game is glitched because I said hello to a guy on the way to like the New Orleans town. He tried to report me for disorderly conduct, and so I shot him dead and fed him to the alligators. So it's like, okay, come on, this is not realistic. It's like, I like everything else about, like, the layering, like, all the card collectibles are kind of interesting. The hunting gimmick, especially since I realized how to do it now, because I was doing it wrong before. I was just trying to go for clean kills on animals. I wasn't using the right weaponry and studying them and stuff.
oh yeah.
Like, I found that out by watching, you know, Giant Bomb and, like, Mingles and Jingles and shit, like, watching all their stuff. But it's like, yeah, it's an awesome game, and it's something I'd like to screw around with more. I just wish there was, I guess, more to it. It just feels like there should be something else. Like,
Well, there's a lot there, but I guess, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's they don't necessarily respect your time, because like every time you take on a new mission, it's like, well, okay, we all got to get on our horse and spend 10 minutes listening to the guy and hope nothing goes wrong on the way to the mission. because then you're gonna have to start that whole conversation over again. It's like, why don't you just do a cutscene and then transport me to the mission? Like, I'll be fine with that.
I know they're still trying to tell the story between Arthur Morgan and Dutch's gang and stuff like that, and I didn't remember enough about Arthur Morgan's story from the last game.
Oh, he wasn't there.
Okay.
He's completely new.
Okay.
Because that's sort of like the mystery. It's like, well, he's not in the first Red
Or
Dead.
not Arthur Morgan. God damn it,
John Marston.
Yeah, John Marston. Sorry.
Okay.
But I was trying to remember more of that, and I was gonna go try and find something online for like the backstory between all of that and Dutch's gang because I couldn't remember enough of it. But it's like, yeah, this is interesting, and I like a lot of the characters in it, and it's not something I think is bad. I know online's more for like building your own adventure and kind of like setting off with your friends and kind of having your own thing. But I kind of wish there was more of that in the solo game.
Yeah.
There was more of like blazing your own trail and doing your own thing.
Permanence, like building stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
because they kind of start off with that, but then like the more time you switch camps, that kind of like gets taken away from you.
Yeah, it's just like it's a dead end economy. You basically pay for some services and stuff like food and horse grooming, but like you only have a few items to buy, and that's pretty much it. There's no like, oh, I'm saving up to buy this ranch and then like buy some livestock and shit and try and retire, or I'm saving up to buy all the bribe these people so I can rob a bank or something. Like there's no gimmick like that.
The epilogue has some stuff like that.
Okay.
It's not really like what you want to do. It's just kind of the story kind of goes that way.
Oh.
Which I find, yeah, because I was like, when I was getting to like the end of the main story, I was ready for it to be done because I was kind of getting bored with it somewhat. And then I was weirdly energized by the epilogue, and that's probably like some of the most boring stuff in the game. But it has like a similar thing to the first game where like the last like 6 missions of the first game are like just boring shit. But what it meant story wise was like I felt like it was amazing because games didn't do that. It's like, oh, you're just gonna live this boring life because that's what life is like. It's like, that's boring but amazing. Amazing storytelling.
Exactly. It's not you have freedom in that universe to go out and go on hunting all day or go on a robbing and killing spree, but it just doesn't feel like it leads anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's the disappointing part.
I like that, like, if you, like, it's pretty, everything's kind of has its own touch to it. It's not like everything feels kind of handcrafted. Like, if you just go places and look for things, like, usually you'll just find something.
Yeah.
Because, like, you found aliens in your fucking game. And, like, I didn't see that yet. I found like a dinosaur skeleton, or it's like a Bigfoot skeleton on a mountain.
Yeah, they were talking about that one of the Easter egg things. I've been meaning to go dinosaur fossil hunting too.
Well, there's like a lady you can meet, but like that was the only one I found so far. But she has like a bunch more missions, but I haven't like discovered that stuff. There's some etchings and stone. Because like one time I like just went up north and was just exploring around. I just kept finding cool shit over and over again. Because I was like also using the treasure maps. And I accidentally found a different treasure map, thinking I was finding the one that the map was actually trying to show me. It's like I found a different treasure map. It's like, oh fuck, well, where's this one go? But like you get up there and there's like it's like a snowy mountains, and then there's geysers and shit, and then there's a legendary animal up there, and it was cool. But there's like the bad thing is there's like nothing up there except you can find that shit, but there's like no towns. There's no like traders or anything like that. Yeah. So like if you go hunting up there, like it's fucking 10 minutes to the next like fur trader and shit like that.
Well, I know there's the fur trader that wanders around. I've encountered him.
Oh, there is.
On the road. Okay. He's the guy that's in New Orleans or whatever, but he is on the road.
Okay.
Because I just saved him from wolves, but then like I died because I fell down the fucking hill, and then I spawned back on top of the hill and he was set up his stand and shit. So I'm like, oh okay. There's. What was I gonna say?
But yeah, it's an amazing immersive cowboy game that kind of sucks to play.
Yeah, my son played it. He shows me stuff from it sometimes.
The shooting controls are, I think they're actually the same. Well, actually, they're same across like all GTA games. There's kind of this lock-on system, but like it controls very weirdly. Like it's like it's just doing the aiming for you, which like would seem like it's fun. It's like, oh cool. It's like, because basically all you have to do is kind of like right trigger, it locks onto somebody, and just like barely bump it up, and then it's like a headshot, just like an automatic headshot. But
Yeah.
it feels wrong every time you do it.
Oh, it's not intuitive, huh?
Yeah, it just feels like you're not really interacting with it. It feels like you're doing like a fireball motion in a fighting game or something. Like, I made the fireball go off.
Oh,
Like,
I
it's
see.
not like I'm playing a shooter. It's just like I enter in a button combination now.
I just feel uncomfortable more with the timing and firing of the guns, at least the early guns.
Yeah,
Because it's all different stages of
I got
fire.
better. Like, I got the rhythm with all the lever action guns to the point where like now I can't even shoot a normal shotgun. Like, I have to use the lever action one just because I have the timing down. Because like with the lever action stuff, you like pull the trigger, but then you have to like let off in a way. Like, well, he'll like reset. He'll like lever the action it. Because
Yeah.
sometimes when like you go to pull the trigger again, then he does the lever action, and so you have to
Oh.
like pull the trigger like 3 times, and it just doesn't. It doesn't seem intuitive when you do it. It always seems kind of off, but it's weird. But
Yeah, it really screws up your rhythm trying to down multiple enemies at the same time. And I'm still infuriated by the mission. I don't know if you did it, where Marsden wants you to steal like a fuel coach to park in front of a rail car so you can
Yeah.
rob it. How the fuck do you steal that goddamn fuel coach? It's guarded by like 20 guys. You can't kill your way to it because they kill you.
I hopped a fence and then just got on it.
I did that 5 times. Each time they chase me down, they shoot it and they make it explode. They can shoot it 4 or 5 times and it just fucking goes up.
Huh.
And I can't get away with it.
I think I killed the nearby guys with like a throwing knife.
Oh, because I've been using bow and arrows and
Oh yeah, I guess that'd work too.
But like I tried just like riding my horse up to it, getting off, getting in the cart, and then driving off. I get about a quarter or third of the way to my destination, then all of a sudden like 5 guys appear out of nowhere, and I either pay attention to them too much, trying to kill them so they don't blow me up, and then the horses die by running into a cactus, or they blow me up, and it's like each time I lose $20 out of my money, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm not gonna lose any more money trying to do this mission. Because I don't even know if it does anything. I think it's just a side mission.
That's probably one of the things I hate most about this game. It's like you'll get missions where like you'll kill like fucking 30 guys,
Yeah.
and like you can loot them. And you'll loot a guy and you'll be like, oh, 33 cents. Yeah, rolling it. 30 more guys I can pick up. But then there's something like if you stop to loot them all, like there'll be something like where like somebody will die and it'll be the mission break. It's like, oh, you're telling me I can't fucking loot these people. Like I killed them. This is my rewards. I can't fucking loot these people. And like,
Yeah, killing without looting.
because like in this game, like especially early on, like it's real easy to lose money really quickly, especially if you're paying off bounties.
Yeah.
And like some stuff is expensive, and like I remember when I got the maximum bounty from Saint Denis, because one time there's like these missions you can find where like something's wrong with the gun stores, like they're doing something like an illegal gambling ring at the gun store, and you can like hold up the gun store and like they'll take you back to the gambling ring.
Yeah.
And then I end up like, and then like I was getting too greedy, like robbing the gambling ring, and I had to like shoot some cops, and then I was like, because it's the bigger city, I was like jumping across rooftops and stuff. I was like, oh, this would be a cool way to get out. But I ended up just killing like 90 cops, and I get like a $2,500 bounty on me, and I eventually got out of there. And I had like a $900 horse that I bought, which is it's a lot of money in the game. It was a great horse, and because I had such a large bounty on it, like I got ambushed, but it was like it sounded almost like machine gun fire when they ambushed me, because they just all shot me at once with like 30 people, and there was no way I was going to get out of that. Like you're just dead instantly, and they also killed my horse too. So it's like I'm out $3,000.
I'll have to kill 30,000 deer to get this
Yeah.
money back. It just doesn't. Like the people bitch about the economy in the online version. The solo version is not too much better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the missions.
Well, yeah, like
I
I told you, if you keep doing the story missions, eventually they'll just give you like $3,000. But
Oh, I know, and there's been good missions where it's like, oh yeah, I get like $800 from this. Fuck yeah, and then I'm not ever gonna pay for a horse because I just go around like fucking either lassoing ones I want or waiting for the horseshoe like kick
Yeah,
to
yeah.
happen. But like at the same time, like I don't ever have to buy another saddle. That always stays on.
Yeah.
And I've upgraded that like to the hilt and shit. And so it's like, well, I've upgraded everything. I'm happy with all the clothes I have. That's like the other thing in the fucking game doesn't make any sense economy wise. Like a coat's like fucking $150.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
Oh,
is
this revolver's $20, but this suit's for $500 because it's dyed purple.
Yeah, it was just like, there's awesome clothes in there, like a good set of boots for like $15. I'm like, yeah, that's probably kind of realistic. But then you go to the general store and it's like, how much for this loose bag of candy? $4. I'm like, what the fuck? That's like, okay.
There's also weird stuff where they pick and choose like how realistic they want to be and how customizable they want to be. Because they do a thing where it's like there's real hair growth in the game. So like to style your hair, you have to grow it out first to then style it.
Oh, okay.
There's a thing you can take that's like hair tonic where you can grow your hair faster. So you have to grow your hair out first before you can style it. But if you bring your horse in, like, hey, do you want to braid that tail, like, or make the hair longer? Just select it on the menu. Like, you don't gotta grow shit.
Yeah. There's no waiting for that. Instant.
Yeah, and some of those are even kind of weird because it's like, do you want to give your horse like 3 hair colors and then give it a mohawk at the same time? It's like, what the fuck?
I braided the tail on my horse because I was like accidentally jumping on other horses constantly.
Oh, so distinguishing.
Yeah, so it's very distinguishable. It's like, oh yeah, go to the braided tail horse. Yeah, it's Red Dead Redemption 2. It's very a lot of quality things and a lot of things that suck weirdly about it. But that's probably because it's a game that's been in development for like 8 years, and it has a lot of old systems to it that they haven't updated.
Yeah, you gotta love those almost decade-long development times.
Well, I mean, otherwise, like the next long development game that's coming out is like Cyberpunk 2077, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that's been in development for like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, but that's like they've been like while they started working on that while they're like finishing up Witcher 3, so that's kind of why it gets years added on.
Yeah, and they always do a good game or a good job with producing quality games that they take their time on and they try and make it right. So.
Is that coming out next year?
Well, I think it's slated, yes, for next year. I mean, I don't know what time.
Or are they just going to bring that out in like 2020?
Oh, they could. I mean, they always just.
That's
say
gonna be weird, right?
Living
in 2020, like there's like comic books where like that was the future year. It's like 2000's too close. Like we gotta start making it like 2020. Like isn't that like Blade Runner 2049? But
2019. First Blade Runner's 2019.
And there's like
fire shooting up in the air in Los Angeles.
I remember there's like
actually become true.
there was like a modern version of the Phantom that was like Phantom 2020. There was like a fuck what was it? It was like a Total Recall 2020. It was like a TV show.
Oh yeah.
And there's also Hindsight 2020, which I'm sure people will wear out in 2020. But
I mean, in the 70s, there was a show called Space 1999.
Yeah.
They were flying around in space, talking to aliens, doing weird shit.
I remember a show. Was it? I think it was on Discovery Channel called Beyond 2000.
Yeah.
It all show like all this new cool technology stuff. We'll be using this in the year 2000. Like, no, we won't.
Wasn't it there was an AT&T commercial from the early 90s, late 80s, where it was like, you're not doing it yet, but you will be, and it's basically everything we have today. It's just the technology was kind of clunky. It was very clunky how it was visualized.
Yeah.
Basically was Skype, email, cellular phones that you could, like, send text messages to people. I think they were calling it email.
Oh yeah, they had like this like picture chat in phones.
Yeah.
Like back then, but it was just of poor quality and really expensive.
Yeah, and you couldn't move around a lot with the signal.
I mean, shit,
phones.
there was a billboard I saw on the interstate last night coming back from dinner. It made me think of Fallout because it was literally like a, like one of those robot arms for like surgery or whatever, and it was like yeah, our new surgeon's in or whatever, and it was like a robot. I'm like, it almost seems like a drone advertisement or whatever. So I was like, oh, it's kind of futuristic and unnerving at the same time.
Drone surgeon.
It's like, so I don't. I mean, yes, technology has advanced in the last, like, what, 30 or 40 years since people, like, fantasized.
Technology advances every year, but...
Well, no,
you mean,
I'm
like,
just,
new watermarks and stuff.
no,
like
I know,
that.
but I'm just saying, as far as, like, you're going from, like, 1800s, where you're, like, nobody has fucking electricity or running water, most of the population's uneducated, medicine's in its infancy, and really there's no industry to speak of, to today, where it's like, oh, you have a robotic arm that'll cut your chest open and rip your heart out, and then also like wireless internet, and everybody has like a small screen somewhere on their person, and shit. Like, we're getting there, but it seems like maybe, I don't know. I think it's always moving at about the same pace. It just seems like electricity, running water, modern medicine, education, and like cars was like a big leap, and then after that it was like, yep, we got TVs now.
Oh no, now we don't. Now it's just all on your cell phone.
You say that, but then it's like Friday. I think yesterday was the 76th anniversary of Pearl Harbor or something. And it was like they had something on TV about it. And you look at those guys like running around, and there's guys like hanging on the prop trying to get the plane going. You realize that was 76 years ago. Some of that shit looks so old. If you told me it was 1,000 years ago and I didn't know anything, I might be like, yeah, okay. It's just, what are you guys doing? Oh, why aren't they firing missiles at those Japanese planes and shooting down shoulder-fired rockets? And it's like, oh yeah, they didn't even have shit like that then. And it was 76 years ago. Well, not 1,000. That wasn't the Civil War. But yeah, so some things move along. I mean, what's really lagged, if you like one of the things I see, like, from science fiction versions of our immediate future to now, is like our energy science is no better than it was 50 years ago. Because like they imagined laser guns and shit, and all that stuff is doable, but we don't have like a battery pack you can put in there. It's like we have lasers and shit, but they have to be hooked up to a nuclear reactor to fucking, you can burn right through a big giant piece of steel, but it's not practical because we don't have ways to store high power energy in really small places.
Yeah, because like our battery technology hasn't changed too much for a long time.
Well, I mean, I have for like cell phones has increased the development of it, and that stuff's better and smaller and exploding. But we still have to wait for the next. I'd like not to have to charge my cell phone every day. That'd be cool. Like I have the e-ink screens where you can like literally like not charge it for a month and you're cool. That'd be nice if we could get that going.
Well, yeah, it's like they talk about all these battery powered cars, and it's like, oh, we got to do this or we're all gonna die or whatever shit they talk about. And it's like, great, give me a battery powered car where I can like drive 300 miles and charge it up. I can charge it for 10 minutes, which is roughly what it takes me to put fuel in my gas tank. I'm fucking all in. But until we reach that point, and then you realize all the subsidiary systems in your car that you take for granted that just won't work where the fuck with a battery hooked up to it, like heating for one thing. Yeah, because heating your car is just a byproduct of engine coolant. In a regular car, in an electric car, you have to like heat up coils and put a fan in front of it, which uses a massive amount of energy.
And plus, if you have all those cars are electric, that means they're drawing from the same grid that hasn't been improved upon
since Space 1999 was on TV.
But well, Lockheed and some German company, they say they're like 10 years away from getting their fission reactors going. Their cold fusion. Yeah. Yeah,
they say that military applications only.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought that was like some commercial grade shit. I don't know.
$300 million power source. It's like, yeah, it works, but and we never really harnessed antimatter or artificial black holes as a power source. Fucking pussies. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm working on a new model. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I remember there was something. I don't know if this is still true. I remember there was something about like harvesting light energy, and really the big problem with it, and like if we can overcome, maybe they already have. But the thing like we can't overcome is that we're only harvesting energy from the red spectrum. So if we
Yeah.
could harvest energy from all the spectrums of light, then we're golden.
Yeah.
Because that would be all the energy we'd ever need. It's just right there if it is.
Spectrums and the X spectrums, the wideband all that stuff.
Yeah, but if I remember light spectrum right, isn't that just all? It's all different frequency on the same wave, isn't it? Like it's all different wave frequencies between the red spectrum. And
Well, I mean, the visible light's like all the same wavelength. It's just we only harvest from the red part of it.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but that's just how it works. That's how.
I'm just trying to remember.
But like, if we could harvest from, like, even if we could just harvest blue and red, that we'd have like 1,000 times more power than we do now, or some shit like that.
I was trying to remember because the last time I saw like a diagram of like how light was broken up was like back in like 9th grade. So, like,
Roji Biv.
Yep.
Anyways, model talk.
Oh yeah, model talk. Yeah,
This
I
is
finally
where
got,
Nathan and Andrew get together and talk about models.
finally got my
oh,
Star Trek, the motion picture, Klingon Katinga.
Quick aside, did you watch the rewatch from the Red Letter Media guys?
Yes, I did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty much spot on about the movie. It's it's kind of weird. It's like, yeah, I had these same thoughts.
I found it. I remember when we rewatched it. The thing that stuck out to me is how unique the soundtrack was, and they didn't really talk about the soundtrack at all.
Well, the soundtrack was unique in this because they actually made custom instruments, like that thing where you hear that.
Yeah.
That was actually a guitar that had a 26-foot neck.
Yeah.
And just huge, like industrial cables with.
Yeah.
They had like humbuckers every 3 feet. Like when you turn this thing on, it was like using 2,300 volts or something to pick up all the subtle sounds.
It's basically a bass guitar the size of a room.
Yeah. Yeah, you couldn't really warp sound then. You had to physically manufacture something. But yeah, this is the 1/350 scale version of it's called the IKS AMAR, which I guess was mentioned one time in the movie. There was a lot of weird stuff, but yeah, all the talk. Yeah, if you want to know about Star Trek: The Motion Picture, just watch that. The Red Letter Media guys.
so what does IKS stand for? International Klingon Society.
Imperial Klingons something. I don't know. It's never been. It's mushy. It might mean this or that or whatever the writers feel like.
Well, I can't remember what is it just United Starship? Is that what USS for the Federation means?
I don't know. There's always been a lot of ambivalence about, like, because for a long time everyone thought NCC meant Naval Construction Code, and then Gene Roddenberry said no, it doesn't mean that. It's like, well, what does it mean? It's just something. There's a lot of vagary with Star Trek. And some people will absolutely screw you to the wall for saying that. Like, no, it's because of this. It means that. It's like, read that. Where does it say that? So yeah,
What
I
interview
don't know
did you
what.
listen to?
I think yeah, it meant something like what did USS mean?
I'm pretty sure the SS stood for Starship because it wasn't Sea Ship for how it is now.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, because there was an actual USS Enterprise, and it just kind of carried forward or whatever. It's like this is how far man has advanced.
This is like an old name. It's an old ship that like is most famous. Because our most famous Enterprise is the aircraft carrier. That was one of a kind, one of one. Didn't make any more Enterprise class aircraft carriers for the United States Navy because it's like, yeah, 6 nuclear reactors on one ship. That's dangerous and weird. And now that they're trying to dispose of it, they're finding out everything was a lot more radioactive than they initially thought. Because they're burying it in the desert somewhere. Which would be cool. Like, they're taking it in tiny pieces, though. It's like, they're going to move that all at once? Bunch of helicopters. What was the other? What was the Enterprise in the Navy before that?
Well, it wasn't. Yeah, it was just like a wood ship, right? It wasn't.
Yeah, I think so.
It was the USS Enterprise. Because there was like one of the Star Trek ones. There's like a history of the Enterprise, where it's like every USS Enterprise. Like that might even be in the motion picture, isn't there? Like a little display of like all the Enterprises or something.
I think there was. Yeah, I don't know when that came around.
But it was like just in the background. It's not like anybody pointed it out. Like, and this is the history of the USS Enterprise.
yeah, it was World War II that made the name really famous to modern audiences.
Yeah.
Because that World War II Enterprise like should have sunk like 6 times. They just like send it back, rebuild it, and the Japanese are like, they can't rebuild that ship that fast. And 3 weeks later, here it comes again. It's like, how the fuck did they do that?
Was that the Enterprise or was that the Intrepid? Or what was the thing about the Intrepid?
I don't remember. It was a famous one too.
Because there wasn't something about the Intrepid where like said like it's like, oh, we broke the bow on it and they just fucking welded some shit back together and sent it out. It's like it basically would not pass any modern standard. Even then, it didn't even pass the standard of safety. It's just like we just need it moving and scaring people.
No, the Enterprise was famous for well, it was a lot of battles. It was the key, like the planes launched from it were the key things. But it was also famous for just withstanding horrific attacks, like of kamikazes and bombs and like, you know, half the deck crew's dead. Like all those guys out there just feeding guns, and half those guys got killed like every other mission. And I think they did break I think they broke the back of it once, and that's when the Japanese said, well, the Enterprise is out of the battle. They just put 5,000 people on it and dry docked. It's like, how quick can you fix this? Safely? 2 years? Not. Because there was something about the reason they didn't, because they were going to have the surrender ceremony on the Enterprise, because the Enterprise was like the main ship, that and the Intrepid, and the Navy was like, no, we don't want it to fucking sink when the signs the surrender. Let's put them on the Missouri. It's like the Missouri didn't do a whole lot, but it's like, yeah, it's not about to sink either. Because they were going to make the Enterprise into the largest like World War II naval museum in history, and when they got it back, they just parted it out and scrapped it because it was so fundamentally compromised. They were like, "No, we can't really do this. We would love to, but we can't." But yeah, there was that one, and then the one on the Cold War Enterprise was the fastest aircraft carrier in the world. That's why it had 6 reactors on it. And I actually got to see that when I was a little kid pulling out of a harbor in New York.
Huh.
Because it was heading straight out to the Atlantic, and you'd watch this giant city just start rising out of the water as it got faster and faster and faster. Holy shit. That thing is really moving. Like the escort things couldn't keep up with it. And then I found out later, it's like, yeah, that's why we make nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, because we can make them go really fucking fast.
Yeah, they gotta fuel them once a year.
Yeah. And they don't. The other thing about it's like how they're made. It takes really heavy weather to divert them. Like usually they can just go straight through. Like, fuck it, we're going. Has something to do with how they're designed. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. Like the only reason you have to divert the aircraft carrier because of weather is because of the grouping, the group of ships that can't do that.
Yeah. Because all the other cause the aircraft carrier just cut right through it, like that perfect storm stuff. They'd just be like, fuck it, strap the planes down, let's go.
We'll save Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney on the way.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I've got my ship, and it comes with a light kit and some photo etch, some metal photo etch things. I've never worked with that before. That's gonna be those are like things.
Have you found your YouTube guy for it?
I found a YouTube guide for how to work with photo etch, not this particular model.
Okay.
And then here's my my color palette conversion I had to make myself.
Huh.
With the paint, because the paint guide that came with the kit is all like tester oil-based paints, which Tester quit making those a year ago. It's like, okay, I don't work with oil-based paints because I've done enough damage to my lungs smoking all those years. I'm not just going to sit around. Hey, kids, come out here and see this. Watch the fat man die of cancer. But, so, yeah, I had to go and match the paint. So it's a pretty damn big model. It's going to be 2 feet long when it's done. Here's one of the main sections.
It's all plastic, right?
Yeah. It's all polystyrene, and then here's like the lower part of the front section.
It just looks like a spoon. Yeah.
Yeah, eat out of it. Yeah, there's the torpedo and all that. It's,
Oh, is the light kit like light up the torpedo like it's about ready to fire?
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, that'll be
Well, the light kit's pretty much static, so it doesn't like do the torpedo.
Oh, it doesn't pulsate or anything like
Yeah, no, they don't. It's it has some strobe lights on it, and it has all the directional lights for the. That's why some guys say put the decals, put them on like with a flashlight in the dark, so you can see that the lights are supposed to illuminate like the Klingon emblems and stuff on it. But if you just put the decals on and don't turn those on, then you'll find out it's only illuminating half of it. So, yeah, it's pretty. It's got some resin parts built in, or you can add to it that come with the kit.
Huh.
For more detail, which is a first. I've never seen them do that before. They're being very ambitious with this, because it was engineered around an actual light kit they engineered that you could buy for it. Now the light kit and the etch kit cost almost as much as the model. So it's like the model's $90 and then another $80 for that, but it should be cool when it's done. It's one of my favorite looking Star Wars ships.
Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah. Star Trek ships. It's how do you make a Cobra look like a ship? This is how you do it.
Well, speaking of Star Trek influence type models, you remember the last Star Trek movie, Colin, where, you know, Kirk's tooling around on a dirt bike or motorcycle?
Yeah.
Kind of shit. Like one of the armies I have, like now, they just announced, like at their conference in December and shit, that they're gonna come out with like a dirt bike fucking like army detachment for one of my favorite armies or whatever. So it's like a bunch of guys with like grenades and pistols and shit on dirt bikes with like rags over their heads and shit. Like, oh, that's really cool. I'll need to buy me some of those models.
The dirt bike cavalry.
I also joined a club this week.
Was it Mensa?
No, I joined the IPMS, the International Plastic Modelers Society. We had a meeting at one of my old local union hall. So I'm gonna do that, and we're gonna get together and talk. And it was a pretty cool group of people. There's only like 2 guys in there like me that do mainly science fiction and nonsense, and everyone else was like, I was in the Navy for 30 years, and I build this and I build that, and I was like, I like Star Trek.
We know, Nathan. We know.
And Star Wars. Well, I brought the Millennium Falcon. Everyone else had like cool looking Tiger tanks and Panzers and things like that, and military equipment, and I just put the Millennium Falcon down.
I'll blow you all the water.
Yeah. This old rusty technology is far in
This is just a transport ship, too.
I bring a Star Destroyer in my truck. But, yeah. But it should be fun. Unless it gets really contentious, weird, and political, which I hope it does. Because I find that to be delicious and fun to torment people. And I was not the youngest guy there, so I felt pretty good about that. For some people younger than me.
Well, I mean, I'd hope for the sake of modeling in general as a hobby that there was younger people, but at the same time, I guess. I mean, it's
Did anybody bring a Gundam yet?
No, but there's people that do a lot of them. There was a lot of Warhammer stuff there. All the younger guys had Warhammer stuff. Some people, they had a Gundam guy who had some pictures that he showed me that was pretty impressive. Because he does the full strip, and because those Bandai kits, you can just put the stickers on them for paint and stuff.
Yeah.
He just does the full strip and paint by hand and makes them look weathered. Like the one guy was holding a sword, and the sword had chips out of it, and doing stuff like that. Which is actually one of the ones he showed me. Is like, oh, that looks real. Like the way he took the picture, it's like this is like a giant robot with a sword. So yeah, they do have some Gundam people. They had some awesome Gundam kits down at the model store too. You get like $500 Gundam kit.
So is that the master grade shit?
Yeah, it's super stuff.
Yeah,
$5,000.
I've looked more at the ones that are $50 or $60, not the $500 one.
Yeah, well, there's like 2 of those. Everything else is like, yeah, 50 or $60.
I mean, they seem like pretty good kits for 50 or 60 too. So
Well, it's
Well,
just
the
what's
Bandai stuff is always amazing to build. It's like, oh, this is the best thought out thing I've ever seen.
well, the cool ones about those that you get all the plastic, what do you call that? That has all the shit in it.
Screws.
yeah,
Sprues. You take all that stuff you put together and you make an action figure out of it, because it's
Yeah.
literally an articulating action figure. But then you can also just do cool paint stuff with it too. It's not going to stand still. You can move it around or whatever, pose it.
yeah. And I wish GW. I mean, there's some stuff they do like that, but not nearly enough. All their stuff is kind of just like, hey, it's static and it never moves. You can drill holes and pin it to change poses. You can saw off and hack this and glue this there to make it look different. You can magnetize it to change all your weapon options, or maybe make it move a little bit. But that it's mostly all static modeling, and that's fine. It's just nice to have stuff you can actually move to, like articulating joints and stuff, because that would be my main wish for like modeling in the future. I guess is for finally find a model I want to do like that. I guess.
That would be Gundam. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they do a lot of that. Everyone's told me I need to build one of those. I was like, I'll pick one someday.
Why don't you get one that ball one that you kind of converted to a
Machine in Bandai? Or
Yeah.
Machine in Gundam? Yeah. Yeah, that one was cool. The thing about the Bandai kits is they're all molded in color, too. Like the yellow parts are molded in yellow, the red parts are molded in red, so it's like an automatic color guide. It's like, okay, I know what I need to prime this in red and paint it. Yeah, the mobile pod ball. That was pretty cool. And then they had they have some action figure guys. They have like a big truck. And it's got like a huge artillery piece on it. It's called like the Mobile Anti-Gundam Group or whatever. Like they're just like a giant artillery piece. They wait for the Gundam and they shoot their leg out from it.
yeah.
Those guys. It was also $130. I don't know how invested I would be.
Yeah,
But I
it's
think I'll
some of that Bandai stuff. It's quality, but it's expensive.
No, there's this. I don't know how popular it is. I know it's a modeling line. It's called Conflict 47. It's basically if like World War II was prolonged from like scientific experiments. So like Germany has like werewolf and zombie troops and shit, and like weird like cool like mechs, like steampunk type mechs.
Is it just a line, or is it like a tabletop game too?
It's a tabletop game. It's called
Okay.
Conflict 47. I can't remember if it's off of Bolt Action or Flames of War is what it's based. It's based off one of those two because it has a similar rule set and it's the same company.
Huh.
But it's literally like, or the Japanese that have like stealth suits that phase through walls with like submarine hats on at the same time. Or you have like Roman, like Italian Legion soldiers with machine guns and full plate body armor and stuff like that. Like the miniatures are really fucking solid, but it's like a mix of metal and resin, which kind of makes me iffy because it's like I do not like working with metal. I mean resin's okay, but it's sometimes brittle and sometimes warped. I mean the kits are decently priced and everything too, but like even the US has like really cool looking mechs. And I can't remember what their gimmick is. I think it's just literally like soldiers walking around with like Tesla fucking engines on their back and shooting like electricity guns and shit. But it's just like everybody seems to have like a cool aesthetic, and it's something I kind of want to try and buy like some small kits for, and not really have like an army, but just like cool stuff. Because I really like fucking werewolves, and it'd be nice to have like, oh, look, here's these Nazi werewolves. You just put on the tabletop. Oh crap.
Yeah, I like the Sherman tank with the Tesla cannon on it.
I mean, I don't think they're too terribly priced for some of this stuff. It's not cheap, but it's not like ungodly expensive.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of like Side.
Yeah, so
Because there's this game that's been demoed at the shop called Blood and Plunder. It's this pirate-based tabletop game with ship combat and land combat and everything.
Huh.
It's just based in like pretty much like colonial era, like, you know, or Pirates of the Caribbean type times with like British, Dutch, Spaniards, or natives and stuff like that. And the part I like most about it is whether it's land-based or sea-based combat, you can roll to see if your units are drunk before they start. So if they're drunk, they always like, oh, they can't shoot as well because obviously they're drunk, but they'll fight like motherfuckers. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool. And but the ship models they have for that are all like freaking huge. Like the galleon's like $500, but it's like probably like 2 foot long and 2 foot tall, and it's just like a gargantuan model for something on tabletop. But I guess they have like a small type ship combat game coming out called Oak and Iron. It's on Kickstarter soon, or is it on Kickstarter now? It's all like miniature ship models and ship-based combat for Pirate Age.
I have to check on my Kickstarter for the Expanse tabletop game.
Oh, really? Is
So
that
I
all?
Advanced role-playing game, aren't they?
Yeah, I Kickstarted it, and I'm supposed to get like this whole kit of like the DM book and then the regular book. I think it's all just available online too, or just like a PDF file of all you need. But I got the books just to have it.
Yeah, but just like the Game of Thrones game that's really popular right now, and I bought into heavily, like that got kickstarted, and you get so much more shit with that than you do just buying it separately.
But that was something because I've never played a role playing game before like that. And I was gonna we'll probably do it for the show, but I thought we could at least like create characters for the show, and then we'll do that, and then I'll put that book on the shelf, and I'll never interact with it ever again.
Well, I could always see if people are interested at the shop because they always have different role playing groups and stuff like that. If you actually ever want to play it more than just once,
Yeah.
because there's people that play Star Wars RPG. There's a couple of different D&D groups, Pathfinder. There's a Conan the Barbarian group. There's a Warhammer RPG group, and I think what the fuck's the other one? God damn it, I can't think of it.
But also with the Kickstarter, the fucking what's their pseudonym for both of them?
Oh, David S.A. Corey or something like that.
Yeah. So they're gonna write 2 short stories for and I believe they're supposed to be in canon or whatever. So they're gonna write 2 new short stories for the Expanse role playing game. Because like almost immediately all the Kickstarter rewards, like all the extra stuff, like they hit all their goals, and it's like, well, fuck it, here's some more.
Mm-hmm.
And the new books next year, and I don't know if we'll be getting a season next year, but cause I remember that one year they took 2 years to make the season, but
Yeah.
see what happens.
We'll hold our breath.
But when's the new book supposed to be out? Is that early next year?
March, I think.
March, okay.
Tiamat's Wrath.
I'm surprised how early next year, like the Avengers films coming out and stuff like that.
Oh, when's it coming out next year?
April.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, not that I'm not cool with it coming out as early as possible, but at the same time,
Well, it's only like, what, 6 months later?
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess technically the last
I guess more
Avengers
like
movie
9
came
months.
out pretty early too in the year.
Well, yeah, because Infinity War was like June or something like that. So, yeah, like 9 months later to get it. Yeah, that's pretty quick turnaround.
Because I think was
Probably
Captain.
did that twofer on that one.
Yeah, they probably just shot it all at the same time. Like,
Well, because Captain Marvel is like March or February, isn't it?
yeah, it's coming out before. Yeah, so yeah.
So I mean, it's not like a huge window between the two. So that was kind of. I mean, I know they.
Well, they'll kind of feed into each other, I guess.
Because I think that's the only thing on Marvel's slate next year, right? It's Captain Marvel
Yeah.
and that, because otherwise the next Spider-Man movie is still under
Yeah, I don't know when
under
that's
wraps. I
gonna
haven't
come
heard
out.
anything much about that movie.
I mean, it's in production, yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is not happening as of now,
Yeah.
and then everything else is not doing anything. So
I saw that new Ant-Man movie. That was fun.
yeah,
I don't have more to say though. It was just a fun movie. It's not like it's not anything life changing. It was a fun movie.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
yeah. There's like a tidbit thing where it said if you look at Lawrence Fishburne when he's in the college classroom, if you look at the chalkboard behind him, it says Matrix on it.
Yeah.
It's like,
What if I told you?
but there's always weird Easter eggs everywhere in anything anymore, especially Marvel movies.
John Wick 3 is in production.
Yeah.
I think it comes out next year.
Yeah, I think. I saw pictures of where he's like riding on a horse with a gun. Because why not?
Yeah, because it's cool.
Well, there's some fucking Keanu Reeves movie where it was like basically connecting it to the John Wick universe, and I can't remember what the fuck movie it was now. Because it was like, oh, this must be John Wick before he loses his dog and his wife, and shit like that, and goes insane. Because I can't fucking remember. It was like a What Culture video, and I can't fucking remember what the fuck it was.
Oh, you watch their movie stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't. I only see their wrestling stuff. So.
I just watch mostly their comic book, their movie, and their video game stuff.
Weird, because I only know them for wrestling. But I know they do a bunch of shit. I saw their website. You could write them like because they do a lot of shit. They do a lot of shitty top 10 lists because that's just the internet. But they usually do a good thing where it's like you watch a top 10 list and you kind of get a history lesson, sort of. So like that, there's that. So at least it has some sort of cultural value to it. So they usually do a decent job of that.
I always wondered why a couple of years ago they like literally most of the people on there like just left or weren't there anymore, and they just replaced them wholesale.
I don't know, Britain.
Oh.
Because as far as I know, the wrestling guys have been there for like ever. I don't know if they have a whole different section for the other like.
Well, the other stuff, except for the one guy with like the beanie and the beard that has a sun on there.
Is that the guy is having the giraffe guy?
Yeah.
Okay, he does some wrestling stuff. Does Simon Miller? Is he ever on other stuff? He says like, "Why? I'll tell you why," and he slaps his head. Is he like only wrestling?
I think he's on other stuff. I just don't really recall.
He's like a bald guy and he's like kind of beefy. He's like he's actually an independent wrestler.
I've seen him on like two things. He's not on a lot besides wrestling. I don't think. The main one on the other stuff right now is this like redheaded girl that I find really annoying. Like I don't like her at all.
Well, that's unfortunate. We hired one woman and you don't like her.
No, it's not. It's just something where it's like I don't. It's just her voice I don't like. I think it's not anything else. It's not her physical appearance or anything or what she talks about. It's just her. I find her voice annoying.
Just an unfortunate voice.
Yeah.
But no, I thought up I should submit a top 10 list. I only had one idea. It was like for movie directors who had 2 movies released in the same year, and then like the number one would be the dude who directed Wizard of Oz and Gone with what's the one with the burning house? That was that Gone with the Wind?
Yeah.
Yeah, he directed them in the same year.
When you said Wizard of Oz at first, I thought you were talking about the new one that I hated with James Franco.
No.
I'm like, that and a burning house. What the fuck movie was that? Like, okay.
And I know Spielberg, he's had a because he used to shoot like 2 movies a year. Well, he didn't shoot them; they just get released in the same year. But he would shoot movies like back to back, like really fucking quick. Because that's just kind of the directors. That's why like funny if you like people go and analyze Spielberg movies, like, oh, what a masterclass in like because Spielberg movies makes fun, entertaining movies, but there's really easy to find mistakes in his movies because he shoots them so quickly. There's a lot of mistakes in his movies, and if you look for them, they're there. A lot of that stuff is made in editing too. So
Yeah.
like who else should? And I think like Robert Rodriguez and John Carpenter, like. They're pretty both. Well, I'm not sure. I think John Carpenter released 2 movies in the same year one time, or maybe a couple times. And then the one Japanese director, Takashi Miike, like he would do something like 4 movies a year. But like most of his movies are just like direct to video trash. but he does a really good job at making trash movies. He's fucking weird. He's got like 90 movies under his belt.
Jeez.
Keeps busy.
Yeah.
How many movies does Spielberg have?
I don't know.
Like 40?
Probably.
He's done a lot.
I mean, he's been directing since the 70s. He's probably done a movie every year. So, yeah, he probably has at least 40 movies. Well, I know there's like a 5-year stretch where he didn't do movies.
Yeah, so there's a lull. Like, recently he's picked back up with, like, Bridge of Spies and stuff like that, but...
Yeah, he did like War Horse and Bridge of Spies and like Lincoln and like just like all in a row.
And stuff. I mean, Lincoln was probably the best received one.
Most expensive divorce in California history. Like that one.
Well, plus that, and he lost a lot of money to Bernie Madoff, so...
Oh, was he caught up in that?
Yeah. He was like one of the guys that like was early.
And I can't remember.
In...
I can't remember if DreamWorks worked out for him or not.
Oh, I guess divorce. Maybe that was somebody else.
Oh, was that the animation guy? I can't remember. One of the guys that owned fucking Pixar.
You think?
I don't think this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can sit here and count this silently.
Well, you can't do like a Google question like how many movies.
Oh yeah, I guess I can just do that.
directed?
How many movies has Spielberg directed?
Yeah, I wish IMDb would just kind of have that.
At least 70.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
I mean,
That might be counting short films too.
and indie porn. Lots of indie porn.
Yeah, let's try to find years where he released 2 movies. 84, Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, and Stroke of... Oh, that was a miniseries, never mind. He did... No, that's TV. He did Amazing Stories in the Color Purple in the same year. I did Indiana Jones and Always in 1989.
Double feature: Jurassic Park, Schindler's List.
Yep.
God damn.
Watch them together.
That'd be a really fucking weird mashup. It's
Yeah.
like the concentration dinosaur camps.
I did...
Lost World and Amistad in the same year.
I did Minority Report and Catch Me If You Can in the same year.
Oh, that's...
He
I
did...
guess I didn't realize those were the same year of films.
did War of the Worlds and Munich in the same year. Well, I mean, these were released in the same year. They might have been made at different times.
Yeah.
Well, at least it breaks up his depressingly bleak human story / dinosaur combo.
he
Don't
did-
forget Big Fucking Giant.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
BFG.
I still like how that was abbreviated because it's like really BFG. Nobody would think big fucking giant or
Oh, was it supposed to be Big Friendly?
yeah, it's like big friendly giant.
Oh,
Or
I
big...
thought it meant Big Fucking Giant.
Yeah, no,
Well,
but
that's because we played Doom. That means big fucking
it's,
gun.
it's like this sign that's on Reddit right now. It keeps popping up on the top Reddit for the last couple of months, where it says BJ's in your PJs. And it's just Ben and Jerry's ice cream in your PJs. Who thinks Ben and Jerry's instead of blowjobs? So,
yeah, he did War Horse and Adventures of Tintin in the same year. But that's like...
2 horror movies in the same year.
Oh, was War Horse bad?
It's fucking bad.
Okay. I thought
It is-
Tintin was okay, but that was like...
it's
that's one of those
visually
things where like...
interesting in some parts, but it's bad.
The Adventures of Tintin is like... I always like... That's like something that's like big in Europe, and I just have no... Like, I feel like I was supposed to have nostalgia for it, and I just didn't, so I didn't care that much. I didn't like... dislike it. I just didn't necessarily have an investment.
Oh, I
in it.
bought it and I watched it. I haven't watched it. It's an okay movie. It's just not a good movie.
My
It's-
favorite Spielberg movie is still Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Probably Raiders would probably be my favorite of his.
Yeah. I still like Close Encounters. I don't know why. It's just well done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it holds up.
Yeah, it actually kind of does.
Unlike the movie we have to talk about tonight.
Oh yeah, we watched a movie this week. The 1999. What was it? What was I going to say about this. The 1999 Spike Jonze acting vehicle, Three Kings.
Where three of my least favorite actors combined into one film.
George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, and Ice Cube. You don't like George Clooney?
I like him in like 2 movies, which is Up in the Air and Oh Brother Where Art Thou. Otherwise, I hate him as an actor. I don't think he's a bad actor. I'm just not a fan of his work.
I want to say he's a better director, but maybe that's just because I really like, what's that movie with the comedy assassin?
I don't remember.
Remember it's Sam Rockwell, where he plays the 70s game show host.
Is it like yeah, that is a good
Minds?
That is a good movie.
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Yeah, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Okay, I like 3 things he's done. Like otherwise, he picks weird projects.
Weirdly shot movie that looked strange.
Well, it's so it was hot at this time. I guess it's an old technique, but it's better. It's called a bleach bypass processing. Where
they actually did that on purpose?
Yes.
I thought this was just some weird cinematography thing they were doing
to
make the stand out.
So it's something like when they're developing the film, they like recover the silver, and it's like stays in the film, the silver nitrate or something like that. So blacks become a deep black, so it's like true black almost. So
I thought they were trying to make it look like news footage or something.
No, I don't know. It's just it's a film process. I guess they actually used it like in Saving Private Ryan too. Like it has, like I don't really think about it having that look, because I always think of like Three Kings as being the first movie that do this, because it's just more striking in this movie. But also that Payback movie that Mel Gibson did also did this.
Huh.
Oh, that's right.
Or like the first like 3 seasons of Supernatural, it also had that look.
Yeah.
And then just became normal afterwards, probably because it was expensive or something. There's probably digital ways to do this, but I don't know. It seemed to have been a fad around this time, and like people don't really make that kind of look anymore, the bleach bypass look.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. Huh. But yeah, that's kind of the look. It's kind of a grainy, kind of has a grain to it, but
yeah, it seemed to have it looked like parts of it looked like news footage or something to me.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe they were doing that because they had Nora Dunn, who you never see anymore.
She's in a bunch of things, but usually in like she's a mom of somebody.
Oh, okay. She was like the CNN reporter.
Yeah.
Or well, they didn't say CNN, but that CNN.
I think it was MBS or some shit like that.
Yeah, CNN was made famous by this war for that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, we're gonna put cameras and watch the fighting. Because this war actually happened like I was a sophomore in high school when this was going on. It made me fun.
And I thought it was funny because I didn't realize watching this the second time that they're all reservists except for George Clooney, who's like special forces.
Oh, okay.
And they're like they're like a reservist component that is like a sort of a liaison for the news.
Okay.
So like you remember like Rob Riggle, like that's kind of what he did like with his unit in the Marine Corps. So this is like the Army equivalent of it in this movie.
Okay. But this is like kind of a comedy, kind of a heist film.
Yeah.
Kind of a war film at the same time, which was it seemed to have like a real frenetic style to it.
Yeah, it's
music and lots of quick panning of the camera around, and
yeah.
I actually saw this in theaters. So,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters almost 20 years ago, and because it was like I remember it was the first weekend I had off in a year. I would go see a movie, and this was out, and I knew who George Clooney was. I knew who Ice Cube was from music, and I didn't know who Mark Wahlberg was.
You know him from his music as well?
I did not know him from his music, believe it or not. Ice Cube, I knew him because he ironically did like weird crossover stuff with some of the bands I liked when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then I knew he had like he always played NWA songs just to be shocking to the hillbillies. So yeah, I knew he was. Mark Wahlberg, not so much. Was this his first big movie?
Well, I don't know. It's he was in other movies before this.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, he's been in other, but like I don't know, like big movie. But yeah, he was in Basketball Diaries with like Leonardo DiCaprio, and that's where people kind of said like, oh, he can act, because that was like more of a serious movie. I think all he did was play a drug addict in that movie, but
Okay.
then he was in that Fear movie where he plays like just a psychopath, which I also hear like good. It's like, oh, I guess this guy can act, where he seems like a dope most of the time. Like when you just see him doing his thing in the Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know when the big hit was. That was like his first like starring movie, I think. That might have also been '99. I'm not sure. That movie's that's like a good B movie. It's like really stupid, but it's fun. It's just it's got.
I know Boogie Nights put him on the map. Too.
Oh yeah, that was like a pretty legitimate movie.
Yeah. It's like a year after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, this
Yeah,
movie,
big hit was '98, but yeah.
Okay. So I remember seeing those guys and kind of knowing who two of them were, and it's weird. Like 2 years after this movie, 2.5 years after this movie, there's yet another war in Iraq. Only this one much darker and more expensive. This seemed like.
Well, yeah, this is definitely a pre 9/11 movie.
Oh yeah.
Because especially when there's that part where they're like they're all debating, like they have the like they're baiting, like, what do we even do here? And it's like, we're not occupying. We don't want this to turn into another Vietnam.
Yeah. Now, who would be stupid enough to do that?
People in the next administration. That's...
Yeah. Well, that's what's weird about watching this now is like, oh, this was a movie about something that happened 10 years before this movie was made, and now it's like, it seems almost antiquated and fun. It's like, oh, you wish it would have stopped here. Save about $5 trillion. And you want, you kind of want these guys to get away. Then you realize, like, what are they going to do with all that fucking gold? And they're stealing it from a country that was invaded, where a bunch of people were murdered. Oh, and Cliff Curtis is in this too, which is always a fun guy to watch. I didn't realize until I rewatched this. It's like, oh yeah, the guy from Sunshine and a bunch of other movies I like is in this. He's a guy from New Zealand. He's Iraqi in this movie.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's always playing like Middle Eastern characters.
Of course, he can't not play a Middle Eastern character.
Yeah. Well, I think he's like whatever the native people of New Zealand are.
Oh, he's like Jason Mantzoukas. He's Greek, but he always plays Arab roles.
You're kind of dark skinned. You're the bad guy. And this and that and everything. Well, in Sunshine he wasn't. He was like their psychiatrist who decided actually. But yeah, in this movie, he's one of the bad guys. And they kind of capture the weird look of like, gold-plated guns and all kinds of really expensive cars. Walking around with pieces of paper as a very thin cover for whatever, larceny they're up to. My favorite thing though was Ice Cube. Like, you can't use those bags because those always rip. Because in his normal life, he's a baggage handler.
Yeah.
At the Detroit Metro Airport, which I thought was funny. And and he was like, yeah, you got to use those bags will rip. You got to use the good shit to carry, gold bullion.
This Louis Vuitton will only hold like 36 pounds, but will carry the gold.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's and then they're bullshitting. I mean, they're just kind of bullshit. It seems like I almost would call this like a dark comedy heist film.
Yeah.
There's funny moments in it, but then there's also
it's like completely inappropriate to have like a fun heist movie I guess in the aftermath of a war. It's like, we're supposed to be serious. This is why it's totally a pre 9/11 movie, because it's not taking war seriously. I mean, look at like what covered Jarhead covers basically the same subject, but in that movie it's all about like, what do we do this for, and everyone falls apart because they had no war to fight, or they didn't get to fight a war, so their life is meaningless and stuff like that.
The one guy saw his wife fuck his neighbor on tape.
Yeah.
Well, but in this movie though, there's like weird jarring moments, like the Republican Guard dudes, like they shoot a woman in the head, and we have stuff like that going on too. and then these guys are still having like a romp, like it's still all this gold because we're disenfranchised, and I have too many kids, and what was the other guy wanted to start a business, and then the Spike Jonze character just really didn't have anything to live for. So,
Yeah, they just cut to his backstory, and it's just him shooting a derelict car with a shotgun. He's like, I don't really have a job.
yeah.
Doesn't it have him in like a trucker's hat with like a fucking mullet or some
Yeah.
shit?
Yeah, oh yeah, he's just a,
Well, and like all these guys are out of Detroit. Like this unit comes out of Detroit. Like at least I
Wow.
think like that's how it's supposed to work. So,
yeah.
because like both, well, except for like I'm not sure about George Clooney, but yeah, both Mark Wahlberg and Ice Cube are supposed to be out of Detroit, and then I don't know because that's a reservist unit, so you have to like be within a certain area to like go to that unit. But I don't know, maybe the I can't remember the name of his character, maybe Spike Jonze character.
Conrad Vig.
Maybe he wasn't necessarily a part of that unit. Maybe he's some other.
Oh no, there's hillbilly places like that all over Michigan,
Yeah.
even close to Detroit. Yeah. I mean, basically the entire downriver area. So.
Also, the same year, Spike Jonze is directing Being John Malkovich and also being the fourth banana in Three Kings.
Yeah.
And that he wasn't a professional actor. I guess the reason David O. Russell wanted him is for excitement. It's like, oh, it's so great on set to have an unconventional actor because you just don't know what's gonna happen. Like, it's like, really? Yeah, I was reading about a bunch of stuff. It seemed like this movie was very frustrating to make.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like David O. Russell was just a fucking asshole. But this is also, I think, his first studio movie, so he really wanted to, like, pull the reins on everything. Like, no, this is my movie. You're not taking it away from me. And then he
Yeah.
tried to steal credit away from the... Because, I guess the original script, the guy who wrote it, he wanted to see how fast he could write a script and sell it. So he wrote it in 7 days and sold it. And then he had to sue them to get a story by credit on the movie because they didn't even give him, like, a written by credit.
Oh really? Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, this movie was kind of it was a cool looking movie, and the story was fun to follow, but it didn't really like it's like Andrew said, it didn't really seem to hold up. It's like, yeah, this was a style of movie that started and sort
Well,
of
yeah,
ended.
I have to go further. Like, why don't you think it necessarily holds up? Is it just because
Well, because it's
pre
like,
9/11 stuff or what?
no, it's just just the meat of the story itself. It's like this weird dark action comedy movie, and there's a lot of like cameras panning around and people yelling and different things, you know, and everyone.
And it just gets suddenly dramatic at the end, and they try to be heroes. Like, we're gonna help the people.
Yeah, it changes gears a lot.
And Mark Wahlberg has a collapsed lung from a gunshot.
Yeah, and they got to turn this little valve, and air comes out, and it's weird. But yeah, it just doesn't seem to like be a cohesive story. I guess it's a lot of jumping around and doing things. It's not an unwatchable piece of shit or anything, but it's not. I actually thought it would be better than what it was when I watched.
You remembered it being better than when you rewatched.
Yeah,
it.
because I was in the theater after like 55 weeks of working almost 7 days a week, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a great movie. I'm relaxed. It's more like desperation. It's like Snicker bars are wonderful, only when you're hungry. But just eat them all the time. But this seemed to be like a kind of I don't know, almost like a throwback of movie making that they don't really do anymore. It seemed like kind of like this seems like a,
oh, almost music video-esque.
yeah, and it's kind of has like a this is some weird thing like Netflix or Amazon would do to be quirky more than a movie with big stars, or at least one big star. But yeah, this is one of those things that like doesn't really stick with you because, like I said, I watched this in the theaters and I watched it again, and my theater impression was way more positive than my let's sit down and watch this one and think about it and try to come up with something smart to say.
So when did you first see it? Did you see it like at the time it came out, or?
No, I saw it like in 2002, 2003. Because
Okay.
it was all... I only own the VHS copy. I don't even own a copy anymore.
Okay.
I think I saw it like 10 times on VHS. So
So you at some point you must have really liked it.
It was just, I think I only had like 20 movies, like
Okay.
I cycled through them. Because it was actually it's probably earlier than that. Maybe it was like 2000 I got a copy of the movie. Because I watched a lot in Upward Bound, but also like out of high school before going to college and entering the workforce a lot and stuff. So between that and like Dirty Work and friggin' what's that one movie that Adam Sandler and Marlon Wayans or whatever? Like,
Damon Wayans, Bulletproof?
yeah, Bulletproof. Watched that a lot. I don't even remember that movie much anymore, so that's kind of sad considering it's like, how many other times has Adam Sandler teamed up with a Wayans
I think that's
brother?
it's like that was like in the era where he's doing like Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison, and
Yeah.
I think that movie's kind of forgotten because it's like it's a good buddy comedy, but it's also like not necessarily as good as those other movies, and it's kind of like weirdly serious at times,
Yeah,
and
that's
violent.
That's kind of.
But it's a good buddy comedy.
That gets weird about it too with that movie. But back to Three Kings. But I mean, I've seen it enough times. I was just never a fan of the. I don't know. I didn't like the story that much. I wasn't like really like, okay, these guys are out to steal, and then all of a sudden they turn altruistic at the end.
Yeah.
But I thought that was more out of desperation of like, well, we can't get all the gold, so I guess we'll just start giving this out to them and see if they can get it across and stuff like that. And the whole like, don't they raid, like 2 bunkers basically in the whole movie? Because the first one's like the secret one with the well that has all the gold. Then they get Marky Mark out of jail
Yeah.
or whatever. But then like all the electronics and stuff they've stolen and shit like that, just like rooms of like random shit, like knockoff Gucci bags, electronics, lamps, fucking just weird shit. Like they're hoarding like the Republican Guard and the regular army and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was just like I don't know. Like Nathan said, it's not a bad movie. It's just not something I think holds up well because of the subject matter and because of the frame of mind now of people with military movies and stuff like that. I don't know if it would be a story I would go to tell for like a retelling of any kind of war epic or war movie anyway. No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's definitely like what makes it a pre 9/11 movie because it's just not. It's being very flippant with the subject matter.
I mean, because people nowadays, I think if there was a movie about troops that were like, yeah, we'll steal shit from people that try and cross the border. Like, I don't know if that'd be a very popular movie with an American public nowadays. Even if they did try and save everybody at the end again for no reason.
It didn't really seem to be based on anything other than the fact
No.
that the war happened.
Didn't they claim it was like based on something? Or...
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I can't remember it.
Well, this like Colin said, this was a script basically thrown together by a guy saying, "How quick can I write a script?" And then apparently these people found the script or had the script and did a lot of punch up on it, I'm sure. But yeah, so I don't think this really had any deeper meaning other than like it's a romp during a war we had recently. So
I don't know what the first Iraq Gulf War movie was. So I know it was like Courage Under Fire. That was like
was that Meg Ryan?
Yeah.
Baghdad come out.
What's that?
Live from Baghdad.
That came out in like 2000. That was like an HBO. That one with Michael Keaton.
Yeah, that was about that was more about the news side of it.
Yeah, I think it came out in like 2003 or something like that.
I mean, that thing kind of came and went. Like that was literally happened, and it seemed like I know there was a long aerial campaign and then a very short ground campaign, and then everyone came home.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, they had like statistics of battle. It's like, oh, the biggest tank battle since Kursk happened in Iraq, and the Republican Guard lost 10,000 people, 940 tanks, and the Americans had 2 people killed and 67 injured. It was
From friendly fire.
So it was one of those kind of weird wars where it seemed to. But then now this movie did kind of address like the dark undertone of where the Allies encouraged the Iraqis to like, yeah, revolt against Saddam. Good luck. And a bunch of people got killed because they're like, yeah, they're finally here to back us. Not really. It's too expensive.
We're here to give you a good old pat on the shoulder and say, you can do it, buddy, and then leave.
Yeah. Well,
I
they
thi-
just
I
they
think
didn't want a log there. They didn't want a long occupation.
Yeah.
I think some of the interest in this is like as a pre 9/11 movie where it's just where it's like, oh, that's ironic. They're just making like it takes on a whole new meaning now, and every time they make a statement about the war, it's like, oh, what does this mean? Oh, we're not gonna stay here.
Yeah, yeah, it is kind of weird, darkly prescient about like, oh, that's not what's gonna happen.
And also, it's kind of a weird thing because like this is taking this movie's made 8 years after the first Iraq War, and one was like, I think it was, when we invaded Iraq was that 2004,
2003.
and then Generation Kills like in 2007 or something like that.
Yeah,
Like how quick to making movies about the second Iraq War did that happen?
they never make cool movies about the Kosovo, the Serbo-Croatian War.
Well, they made that one with Owen Wilson as a fire pilot, and that was about the
Except
most.
for the Owen Wilson.
Oh.
movie.
Well, I guess no, there is
Is that
another
behind
one.
enemy lines?
There is another
Yeah.
one with like Dennis Quaid as a sniper. I can't.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what
Is
the
that
fuck-
one where like he has to like
I
hold
think
the
it's the Savior. I think it's what it's called.
yeah? Is that the one with the baby and like he
Yeah,
has to keep
that's-
the baby quiet and then he
That's one of the
accidentally
movies I
suffocates
had
the
on
baby?
VHS as well. I watched like 6 times. I actually like that movie. I kind of wish I could.
That's a
find it.
harrowing movie to watch. Jesus Christ.
Watch that one, The Savior.
Yeah,
Dennis Quaid.
yeah. I swear it was Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, I think so. There's a part where like he ties his gun to a tree and I was like, what the fuck is he doing? He's, oh yeah, that'll keep it straight.
But yeah, those are the only 2 things I can think of for like the Serbian like Bosnian war. And the Owen Wilson one definitely isn't good. Like it's okay. It's I wouldn't say
It's happy.
It's a B movie.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
silly.
like they like I think they made that movie for like $9 million because basically like the government approved of the script and they just like put like, hey, we're just gonna conduct training operations and that'll be your movie. Just shoot some shit around here.
Well, they made a sequel to that movie, didn't they?
Yeah, they made like 3 sequels of that fucking movie.
Oh, 3. Okay, shit. I know there's.
Well, I think there's a third one. I
Oh.
don't know if they made
I know they're
3
all
additional
direct to
ones.
And they got Gene Hackman when he really needed some money right now.
DVD.
I'll do this. I don't give a fuck.
What do I gotta do? Just dress in army fatigues and be on a bridge? Okay, we're good.
We don't leave a man behind.
Yeah, we can say all
I
that.
could say the shit out of that line for $5 million or whatever they gave him. I don't know. What's Gene Hackman go for nowadays? I know he still acts occasionally.
No, I think he's retired from
Retired.
everything.
Oh, he's retired
Like
now.
90.
Yeah, he's really
oh,
fucking
shit.
old.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought he was younger.
Yeah, when you saw him in like Enemy of the State, I think he was like fucking like 86 years old in that movie.
Well, I hope he got paid well. Because I don't think. I mean, yeah, SAG keeps your insurance and stuff. I don't think they have any retirement benefits for.
No, well, he's made money. He's
Yeah.
probably good. I think the last movie he was in was the Royal Tenenbaums. That's the latest I can remember.
Right. All right.
But yeah, David O'Reilly. Well, like, I don't know. Yeah, did you guys ever seen Spanking the Monkey? That's a fucking weird ass movie. That was his first indie hit.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's about some Oedipus stuff in there, so it's a very weird movie. But I really like
Oh, he's the guy behind those movies? Okay.
yeah.
I like So Long His Playbook. I never saw Joy because it looked boring.
Yeah. I haven't seen The Fighter. I heard good things. So.
I haven't seen American Hustle either, so.
That's all right. Yeah, I really love Silver Linings Playbook because I was kind of blown away by that movie because what I expected was just because it has like all these serious actors in it, and I thought like, oh, here's just gonna be this guy has mental instability. It's like, well, this is all gonna end poorly, and this is just gonna be a super drama or just like about people making bad decisions. And it's just a really uplifting movie. I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, I like Bradley Cooper a lot in that movie. And,
Yeah.
and Jennifer Garner. Or not Jennifer Garner, Jennifer, God damn it.
Lawrence.
Yeah. Garner, Lawrence, Aniston, whatever.
I know it goes Jennifer Lawrence, Jessica Chastain, and Bryce Dallas Howard, and whoever that chick in the new Magnificent Seven movie is.
Oh.
All right, guys. I gotta wrap
Olivia
it up.
Munn?
All right, huh?
Olivia Munn?
No, you don't know her. It's just, but
Oh.
you know, when you see her, it's like, oh, this is
Oh.
D grade Jennifer Lawrence.
Alright, well,
All right, end the show.
Yep. So Three Kings, check it out this week for the American Greed Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
It's Conlon.
Andrew, sorry.
Goodbye, America.